to be a lot of fun. We are opening the show. We are going to start SmackDown, apparently, with Cody Rhodes face to face with Roman Reigns. We are getting that face to face. We are going to get that confrontation. You might remember on Monday that Cody said that he was going to go to SmackDown so that he could confront Roman. And Paul Heyman said, look, if he doesn't, then he will be confronted. So he's either going to confront Roman or he'll be confronted by Roman. And they have confirmed that this face-to-face is going to open the show tonight. So we've got that to look forward to. As well as that, we've got Solo Sikoa going one-on-one in a match with Sami Zayn. Solo Sikoa against Sami Zayn tonight on SmackDown. That is so exciting. I don't know quite how you book that match because both guys need to win. So I can only imagine there's going to be some stuff that happens at the end of it, which is, I suppose, in a way going to be a little disappointing, but totally understandable. Ideally, it would be good if this was, the match and we were going to get them one-on-one. This would be really good because obviously Solo beat down Sami at the Royal Rumble. There's a lot of history between these two. We've never seen them face off against each other before. Obviously, all part of that Bloodline story. So we're going to see them going up against each other. As I said, probably expecting there to be a little bit of tomfoolery, a little bit of a screwy finish, but even so, still looking forward to it. And the Cody thing. And I believe we've got Rhea Ripley in action. I think, is she taking on Liv Morgan? I feel like Rhea Ripley is on the show tonight as well. I haven't seen the official preview for this show, but I have seen, as I said, a few of those announcements that were made. Other than that, not loads in the way of news, not loads that's going on at the moment. It's a little bit quiet on the road to WrestleMania. We haven't seen any Hall of Fame announcements, which is quite a surprise considering we're so close to WrestleMania. There's certainly rumors out there for people that could go in, and I can tell you some names if you want to know them. So if you don't want to know them, take a step away for a moment, just for a minute, and I'll give you 3 names that I've heard that could be going in this year. So here we go. Right, you've had your chance to step away. 3 names. So this was doing the rounds on Twitter. Always hard to know how true it is, but apparently Batista, Great Muta, and Lillian Garcia. Those are the 3 names that I've seen that potentially, and you have to say potentially because certainly haven't had that confirmed anywhere, but potentially those could be 3 names that are going into the Hall of Fame. And it would make sense. Batista was meant to go in a few years ago, but declined because of there not being a crowd because of the pandemic. Lillian Garcia, I actually would have thought she was already in, to be honest. Quite surprised if she's not in already. She was obviously the ring announcer and she did a lot of work for them, actually, but probably best known for her ring announcing. But she was the ring announcer for a long time. But as I said, she did various different roles. And I wouldn't have a problem with her going in. And then Great Muta. That was one that I did wonder about because this is the year that he has retired. Might be a bit soon, to be honest. But if you're going to have a Wrestling Hall of Fame, you put Great Muta in it. So that's a bit of a no-brainer, to be honest. Even though he never wrestled for WWE, or at least to my knowledge, he didn't. I suppose he did when they went to Japan. I mean, that was probably under the WWE banner. But I mean, him coming over to America and competing in America, he did for WCW. So I can't see a single reason as to why he wouldn't go in. He should go in. But it's just, is this a bit soon? Don't know. I see we got a couple of super chats that have come in. EST, shout out to you. Appreciate the support, my friend. Oh, it is worth mentioning, just whilst my brain is shooting all over the place, we have got some big streams this weekend. right? I always like to mention the weekend streams because they're our biggest streams of the week. And we've got some big ones, literally 20 minutes down the road. Misfits boxing, 20 odd minutes down the road. They're in Telford, which, as I said, is my closest city, town. I actually don't know if it's a city. It's either a small city or a big town, but either way, it's 20 minutes down the road. And I'm going to be doing that fight. I'm not actually going to it, although I probably should have tried to have got tickets, because that could have been quite interesting, actually being there and bumping into various people. But no, we're going to do the watch along for it. So Misfits tomorrow, boxing. And what's great is that should end just as UFC starts. There may be a little overlap, but whatever. Do you know what I mean? I don't want to miss the Misfits one, certainly if it's not only 20 minutes down the road. So, we're going to do that, and we're doing UFC. John Bones Jones returns to UFC tomorrow. So we're doing both of those events. And then on Sunday, AEW Revolution. So we're doing that as well. So busy weekend. Got all of that coming up. Should be good. So if you are around, join us for that. Thomas Morehouse, my friend, shout out to you. Member for 29 months. That is incredible, bud. We are doing a member stream on Thursday. So if you are a member, feel free to send in videos of anything you want to talk about, ideally wrestling related, but honestly, it's a member stream. I don't care. So whatever you want to talk about, give me videos, give me audio clips, no longer than a minute. I'm really trying to make it every 2 weeks so that gives people time to, think of like whatever it is they want to talk about and send it in. And then we can obviously just talk about whatever the question is or the theory or whatever it is that's been sent through. The last ones have been really enjoyable. I think the first one we did was like an hour and a half long. And then the last one, we managed to keep it to an hour, but it was quite intense and there was lots to talk about. And good. So the next one is going to be Thursday. So member stream coming up. Thomas said, could you see Jimmy versus Jay or Usos against Sami and Kevin Owens? I can see both, to be honest. Really, it comes down... I think this whole story has been able to kind of develop and evolve. I couldn't even tell you, and I really don't think there was, right? There might have been an idea, but I don't think we stuck to it. When Roman first won these belts, was there a plan for how long he would have them for? Because there is no way this story has gone the way they planned, right? I mean, that is fact. There is no way that when Roman won the titles, what has played out after has gone completely to plan. We know that's not true because we know that it was Sami's idea to join the Bloodline, right? It came from Sami. Sami actually approached WWE and said, I'm the locker room leader. Roman is the tribal chief. How about we just see if there might be something there, if we can do something. And so they went with that idea. Hence why Sami was never meant to get as over as what Sami got, because he was never planned to be in the Bloodline. And then when he was in the Bloodline, he wasn't getting any TV time with Roman until Triple H took over. And then he started to get more time with Roman. And then that's when it went to a whole different level, right? So just that alone says that there's been changes there, for example. The other thing I would say as well is that when Roman won the belts, we are going back a long time, well before Cody Rhodes came into the picture. Cody Rhodes was still wrestling for AEW in early 2022. I think he has a ladder match with Sammy Guevara in January of 2022. I don't think that they knew they were getting Cody when Roman first won that title, because you're going back a long, long way now when Roman won that belt. So again, it looks like it could be Cody. that might be the one to take the belt off Roman. We don't know yet. But again, that wasn't planned at the very start. So my point that I'm making is that this story has ebbed and flowed and evolved and gone down some roads that maybe weren't expected. And it's not been like every single thing planned out from the start. You wouldn't do that. You wouldn't sit there. You might plan who the person is that's going to take the belt off Roman and when, but you're not going to be able to plan out absolutely everything because you've got injury. I mean, we already know that Randy Orton was meant to face Roman at SummerSlam, and then he got injured, and so that's why we had to go back to Brock. So we know that that wasn't planned as well, right? So this story ebbed and flowed and blah, blah, blah. And so, yeah, it's honestly, it's now down to where we are now. It's down to the fact that, right, what do you want to do? And the only person that can answer that is Triple H. If Jey decides to leave the bloodline, I think that would be very exciting. And you could absolutely do Jimmy versus Jey. And you could find something for Solo, and I don't know who you would bring in. It'd be a little tricky because now we're going down roads of, okay, if you do Jimmy versus Jey, who does Kevin Owens and Sami face at WrestleMania? It would have to be Solo and someone, but who is that someone? I mean, I don't think you would do Solo and Roman and then make Roman wrestle again on night 2. I don't think you would do that, but you could do that. But either way, this story can go in a few different directions. Other than like trying to figure out who Sami and Kevin would face at WrestleMania, like outside of that, you could do Jimmy versus Jey. I still think it's more likely that it's Usos versus Sami and Kevin. Not only because you would have to find a partner for Solo, but also we've made this point before. I think it's one thing to beat Jimmy and Solo at WrestleMania. It's something completely different to beat the Usos, because the Usos are one of the best tag teams of all time, but Solo and Jimmy are not. We've only seen them like once as a tag team, as a duo. I know there's been 6-person tags that Usos and Solo have competed in, but I mean just like 2 people. So yeah, they're not. It doesn't. I know they're brothers. I know it's Bloodline. I don't care. I haven't been watching them as a team for the past 13 years like I have with the Usos. So for me, it's a very different beast. Very, very different beast. It's Jimmy and Jey that are the longest reigning tag team champs and all this kind of stuff. So I feel like for that reason, you've built them up. You've built up the Usos as one of the greatest tag teams of all time. If you're going to bring down the Bloodline and Jey has turned on Sami and chosen to stay with the Bloodline, then, it's the Usos that you're going to want to see get brought down. So, yeah, I feel like you can go either way. That's the job of being a booker, isn't it? They will get thrown curveballs by Vince back in the day, maybe Triple H now. And you've got to find ways of making it work. I think when people think about like creative and they think about how amazing it must be to work in creative, they always think that you've got this blank sheet of paper and that you can just do whatever you want, And that's probably true for one aspect of it. But another aspect of it is, okay, we're doing, we're meant to do this person versus this person, but this person is injured. Who's going to replace? Where do we get a new opponent from? Right? Well, you can't have them because they're in this feud. You can't have them because they're in this feud. You can't have them because they're injured as well. You can't have them because they are on holiday or whatever. They got a few weeks booked off. They're getting married, like Carmella and Corey just did, for example, right? That's the other aspect of creative. You've got a blank piece of paper, lovely, amazing. But then the other side is, okay, here's a scenario, make it work, right? Make it work. So, they could absolutely decide that Jimmy versus Jey is the way they want to go. And then when it comes down to Sami and Kevin, make it work. And that's how you're going to earn your big bucks. Don't even know how much to get paid, to be honest, in creative, but I'm sure they do very well for themselves. So, Thomas, shout out to you, buds. Alfie said, have to make an appearance. Cody, Roman, face-to-face. Maybe Jimmy will attack Cody and Jey could stop him. Max said, what are the chances of Liv getting added to the title match if she beats Rhea? She's got history with both Rhea and Charlotte. Chances, I would say... I'm feeling like a 25%. I feel like it's a decent chance. I think it's unlikely just because I think that these two women going up against each other, they've got a backstory. It's a big match. It's sort of like the, dare I say, the past versus the future. I think it's more present versus future, to be honest. I think it would be unfair to call Charlotte the past. But, I mean, she's been on the main roster since 2015. She's done, 8 years? 8 years Charlotte has been on the main roster. She's a, 14-time world champion? I only know that because there was merch that came out for her. So, I think she's a, 14-time world champion. She's been on the main roster 8 years. I think it would be unfair to call her the past. Call her the present. But Rhea Ripley is the future. Right? She is the future. I mean, that woman has won a Raw Women's Raw Women's Championship. I don't think she's won the SmackDown one. But either way, what about Rhea Ripley doesn't scream multiple-time champion? Do you know what I mean? What about Rhea Ripley doesn't scream future WrestleMania main eventer? Like, you can totally see Rhea Ripley main event in night 1 and then someone else main event in night 2, Roman, whoever, Cody, Sami. So, yeah, I think that, I think the one-on-one match, they've got history. It's a big match. It's sort of like Rhea testing herself against Charlotte, against the Queen. She fell short last time. Is she good enough now? We've seen this story, this narrative that it's been 3 years. She's improved. Charlotte said, I hope she's improved. It's been 3 years. I'd expect her to improve, right? And that's sort of the narrative going into it. Could you drop Liv Morgan into that? Yeah, you could. It does sort of take away. I could be in the minority, but I'm a big believer that if you go from a singles one-on-one match to a triple threat match, it doesn't necessarily add to the match. It takes away from the match because, all of a sudden the spotlight, the focus is not on two people like it would be in a one-on-one match. You can focus on them, build that story. All of a sudden now you've got to start building Liv and Charlotte, Charlotte and Rhea, Rhea and Liv. Like, you've got to build all of these angles, all of these different stories, these different feuds. If you can get it right and book it right, then, you could have a very rich story, very rich backstory going into the match, which is going to massively help the story of the match. It can absolutely work. So I rather one-on-one matches. I prefer one-on-one matches. I would always lean towards having it be one-on-one rather than triple threat. I'm also not the biggest fan of, you can pin this person and the champion loses their belt. So, Liv pins Rhea, Liv's the champ, but Charlotte loses her title. I sort of feel like triple threats, there's a bit of unfairness to them. I understand, Charlotte shouldn't be out of the equation. She should be in there making sure. But we've seen it loads of times where, Charlotte or someone, the champion, will hit the finisher and then just get chucked out the ring. 1, 2, 3, the pin stolen, the belt stolen. I mean, you have to take it on the chin, don't you? But I don't know. I'm just not, I don't mind seeing that once in a while in a blue moon. But it's not I'd much rather a one-on-one match. It's not my favorite way to see a champion lose the belt. It feels a bit cheap. Much rather see I understand it can protect the champion or former champion, but feels a bit cheap to me. So, look, could she be added? Yes, she could. Do I think she'll be added? Don't think so. Don't think so. I think the narrative is pretty much set. 3 years since their last match. Present versus future. Who's better? But, I mean, like, Liv coming in wouldn't be the end of the world by any means, you know. I mean, they have said, and there are rumors, that this WrestleMania is going to be stripped down. They're going to look to make it not as packed as usual, which is very interesting because that's something that I've been an advocate for. That's something that I would actually like to see. I'm sorry, I just don't think that every wrestler should be on the WrestleMania cards. I think that it's very unfortunate if you are not in a great program or if you're not used that much or if your segments are a bit stagnant. That's unfortunate. But at the end of the day, for me, WrestleMania should be the big stories getting paid off and championship matches. And, you know, it should be really focused on that. Other, like, things like just trying to get, you know, fatal 4-ways and things like this just to try and get people on the cards. Not feeling it. Not feeling like, should we make that a triple threat? Should we make that a fatal 4-way? Should we shove a person here? Should we shove a person there? Do you know what I mean? Like, just shoving people in because we've got to get them on the cards. Not a fan of it. I'm not saying that in reference to Liv. I'm just saying that in reference to everyone. This is why I really don't mind the Battle Royal. I don't mind the Battle Royal because Battle Royal is a Battle Royal, isn't it? Battle Royals have been going for years and years and years and years and years. And as long as the winner actually gets something, as long as whoever wins that Battle Royal gets something significant. I mean, the Andre the Giant trophy just wasn't it, was it? It just wasn't it. Like, you needed to get a title shot. I don't know why that person couldn't have had a title opportunity. But whoever wins the Andre the Giant Battle Royal gets a title opportunity. I mean, done. Boom. Lovely. Thanks. It gives it a purpose and makes it more important. And, you know, there's an easy way of getting 20-odd people onto the show. So, yeah, I don't mind the Battle Royal idea. Do the men on the one day, do the women on the other day. Lovely. Thanks. It's a great way of getting more people on the show. Should be for a title shot for the IC or US Championship, says Dark Thunder. James said, did you see Dynamite went back to 833? Oh, God, no, I didn't, but hello, James. Hope you're well. No, I didn't. No, I've been quite busy, actually. I've been really busy. I've had to do... I mean, I'm doing some video editing stuff at the moment. I'm really trying to up my game when it comes to video editing. And I've said it for a long time that videos are coming, they're on the way, blah, 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 blah. They genuinely are. But it's just that things keep changing and evolving, and it's interesting. It's really interesting. I've been working on that, but more than that, I've had to research all of UFC and all of Misfits. And so, like, that took, honestly, hours and hours and hours and hours and hours. So, yeah, I'm doing all that. So I haven't really... I mean, I've kept an eye on wrestling news. And as I said, it's been very quiet. It is very quiet at the moment. Sort of feels a bit like the calm before the storm. I don't mind it, actually. I don't mind it. Last year was pretty wild. Kind of felt like all the time, what with Vince and Sasha and CM Punk and all this kind of stuff. Just felt like there was big things happening all the time. And of course, those big things have repercussions. So it's not just the backstage brawl, but then you get the little details coming out, and then you get the suspensions. And so, you know, all of those have like ripple effects. Same with like Sasha and Naomi. Are they coming back? What happened backstage? You know, all the details come out. Then there's rumors and leaks and blah, 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 blah. And you get all the ripple effects. Well, we haven't really had anything major, so there's no ripple effects. So not only do you not have the big news, there's not like the little things that follow either. So yeah, a bit quiet at the moment. As we said, probably just the calm before the storm. But either way, WrestleMania very, very soon. There'll be plenty to talk about then. But in regards to Dynamite, I didn't see that it dropped to 833. I thought it would drop. I think I predicted 925. So 833 is well below. Well below. I honestly, I just think that it was the announcement. I really do. I think it was the announcement. I think the announcement grabbed people's attention because I think there's a general feeling with AEW, and I'm not here to bash AEW, right? But there's a general feeling at the moment that the product is probably as low as it's ever been, right? It's probably as stale, as stagnant as it's ever been. And so I think that when Tony said he had a big announcement, a huge announcement, I think there was probably a bit of optimism, hope, probably a bit of intrigue. There was quite a few emotions connected with this because it feels like Tony needs a big announcement. He needs to do something. Something needs to change. And actually, I would say that for various reasons, the past couple of weeks have been all right for various reasons, right? But yeah, I think there was a lot of reason as to why there was interest in a Tony Khan announcement. And seemingly that did work, and it boosted the ratings by, well, what seems to have been a couple of 100,000 people. A couple of 100,000 people were like, okay, what's he doing? What's he got planned? How's he gonna get out this funk? And it turned out to be a reality show that I think left people a bit underwhelmed. I thought, though, that what you would see is you would see the spike of the announcement and then the come down. Normally, you normally are able to show people that have tuned in, hey, check out these segments, check out, what we've got going on at the moment, and then like keep some of them around. So yes, it was going to decline, but wow, to go like pretty much back down to where you were before sort of implies that load of people tuned in extra, didn't see anything they wanted to stick around for. The announcement, right, got that, whether they liked it or not, whatever. And now it's gone right back down to where it was again. I think it was 820 something before. Now it's 833. I keep saying it. I'll say it till I'm blue in the face. They need a big revolution. Sunday is so important. It needs to have something that gives them momentum. They need a big name coming in, or they need a big turn, like someone goes from heel to face or face to heel, or they need new champions. They need anything. Just to get that buzz, get that momentum. I think they did ride for a while, actually, like mystery persons. We did that a lot. We haven't done that in a little while. I'm all right with us not using that. I think it's good to have it in your back pocket and bring it out maybe a couple of times a year. And even the announcement thing you can have in your back pocket, maybe use it a couple of times a year. But really, you shouldn't be using them any more than that. So that'll get you through, 4 of the 52 weeks. So it's good. I'm glad we're not going to it every week. But yeah, that's my thoughts on the current state of AEW. And as I said, I know that it might come off quite like I'm trying to bash them. I'm genuinely not. I watch the product and I want to enjoy the product. And I've said for the longest time now that it's been stale, and it's felt stale to me. So I'm hoping that Revolution is actually going to be this big success. And I want it to be a big success. And I want it to really kind of give AEW some momentum. And honestly, I mean, if you're a diehard WWE fan, like you're diehard, right? It's WWE or nothing else for you. What I would say is AEW's success is not to the detriment of WWE, right? They don't correspond. So like, if AEW is doing well for them is like 1 million. That's well for them, right? Like, they at the moment are at like 800,000. If they get to 1 million, it does not affect WWE. Like the TV deals, they're being negotiated now anyway. I don't expect them to go anywhere. And honestly, if they did, I think it'd be a real shame. People like Britt Baker deserve to be in the business, deserve that platform. And, there's no guarantee WWE would have picked her up. And I think there's a few, there's a few people over in AEW. Look at Wardlow, who's been fantastic. Look at MJF, who did send a tape in to, I think it was Tough Enough, and didn't get accepted. So you've got the likes of MJF, you've got the likes of Wardlow, you've got the likes of trying to think in the women's division, Britt Baker, definitely. Jamie Hayter, that was the name I was trying to think of. Jamie Hayter. Jamie Hayter. There's no guarantee that all these people would come to WWE. There's no guarantee WWE would be interested in them all. And even if they did come in, would they get the spotlight they've got now in AEW? So, a strong AEW is not necessarily to the detriment. It's not to the detriment of WWE. WWE is so big, operates on different nights. It would be different if they were on the same night at the same time, like the Monday Night Wars. That would be different. Then I could understand. But right now they're not. They're on different days, different channels. It just doesn't matter, does it? It's just a bit more wrestling to watch during the week. So for me, I'd much rather have a strong AEW that's doing well, that's putting on a good shows that we can get excited for. But yeah, just a bit flat at the moment. Should be title shot for IC or US. I'm honestly ready to see some new wrestlers with titles. Seeing the same people win over and over is old, says Queen Els69. Shout out to you. Did you see that Tony tweeted a few hours ago saying that he's got several major announcements in the pipeline? We're getting desperate now, said Big Time Baxter. I didn't see that. No, I didn't. If that is true, and I mean, Big Time Baxter's all about the facts, then yeah, that does seem a bit desperate, to be honest. I mean, it does seem like we know where that million came from. We know what the fans want. They want big announcements. They want excitement. They want something that's worth their time. This is the world we live in. It's the world we live in. People do not want to watch things that are that are not worth their time. Not when you've got as many options as what you've got in this day and age. So, yeah, 833,000 tuned in. And it seems like they lost nearly, 200,000 people, which is, it's quite a decline. And to my knowledge, it's not like there was any NBA or anything that they were up against this week. I'm never very good at that, though. I would never claim to be the best when it comes to being able to give you an accurate picture in regards to ratings, just because I'm not in America. I mean, I'm here in the UK, so I don't know what big thing. I mean, the buzz, you will see it better than I will. You'll know what's going on in America. You'll know what's happening with the World Series or the NBA or ice hockey or whatever it might be. President's Day, I don't know, right? So I'm not aware of there being any external factors, but there might have been. Right. Lacey Evans needs a zombie gimmick, said NYC Man O' War. The way WWE keeps burying her and bringing her back. Naomi has been announced for a meet and greet at WrestleCon in LA during Mania weekend, says James. Interesting. Alfie said, what do you think of the potential of Gunther facing a future champ at Backlash? I mean, there are rumors that they are going to look at doing something with Gunther around the summer after WrestleMania. I don't know how I feel about it, to be honest. I don't know how I feel about it. I think I wouldn't. It's difficult because, and you can tell me if I'm wrong, I don't think there's loads of great heels. I like at the moment, because Roman has been on top for so long, we haven't really had loads of great heels like we've had lots of baby faces challenging Roman. There's lots of good baby faces. We've needed baby faces. That's what we've prioritized. We've prioritized building faces for Roman. What I don't think we've done a very good job of is establishing heels for when Roman loses the belt and Cody or whoever gets the belt. Whoever gets the belt off Roman is going to be a babyface, right? You're not going to put that belt. You're not going to take the belts off Roman and put it on a heel. You need a babyface, right? Well, when you do that, where's your heels? Who are your heels? And I don't think we've done a very good job. Like Karrion Kross, for example, I don't think has been used very well. And he would be an example. Sheamus was someone that was seen as quite high when it came to the heels. He was seen as being quite, up there. People were appreciative of the bangers he was having, but so much so they turned him face. So Sheamus has turned face, and Karrion, I think, has been a bit underwhelming. Seth was heel, now he's turned face, right? You've got Judgment Day, so you can definitely do something with Finn Balor, so there's definitely something there. But honestly, I think if you look at the landscape across Raw and SmackDown, I just don't think we've got many great heels. I mean, Bobby is a heel at the moment, but honestly, I've had people asking, is he a heel? people didn't quite know if he's a heel or if he's a face. People have been a bit confused as to, I think there's clarity to it now, but not that long ago he was a face, and seemingly the turn was sort of, I don't know, I don't really know when it came, to be honest. But it's kind of, my point remains. I don't think there's loads of great heels. So I look at it and I go, well, one of your best heels is undeniably the mid-card champions. Undeniably, one of the best heels on Raw is Austin Theory. And undeniably, one of the best heels on SmackDown is Gunther. And honestly, whoever the champion is, you're probably going to need both of those. You're probably going to need Theory and you're going to need Gunther to go up against a babyface champion. So I get it. I do understand. But equally, have we done enough to build them to that level? Are we moving a bit quick because we need to, not because they need to, if it makes sense? I feel that Gunther has been on the roster not even a year. I think he came up the night after WrestleMania. So we haven't even done 12 months on the roster with Gunther yet. He's had a good Intercontinental title reign. He absolutely could smash that record. He could easily. The record's 400 and something days. He's at 280 something. It's about 150 days-ish, right? He could have that record. And, easily this year. I quite like the idea of him doing that. And keeping the IC title and really establishing himself. It sort of just feels a bit early to me. Just a little bit early. It might be the record. Maybe it's the record in my head. I don't know. But it just sort of feels like people do know Gunther. And he's been on TV a lot. And he's very credible. But I think I just want to see some more title defenses from him. I don't know that I've seen enough pay-per-view appearances. Maybe it's that. Maybe I just haven't seen him having matches on pay-per-views. If you think, for example, yeah, I think it could be that, Could be that. Because if you think Elimination Chamber, he wasn't on the cards. Royal Rumble, he was in the Rumble. Survivor Series, can't even remember. But there wasn't a show in December. Crown Jewel. Was he even at Crown Jewel? The IC champion, he wasn't at SummerSlam. So he wasn't on the SummerSlam card. So I sort of feel like he hasn't been on enough pay-per-views. And if he has, then it's been stuff in Rumble where that was a great showing. Absolutely fantastic showing. But I feel it's a bit soon. I feel like he needs singles matches on pay-per-views and build him up and expose him. There's a lot of people that don't tune in every week, but they might tune in for like WrestleMania, and they'll tune in for SummerSlam. You know, the casuals. We all know that things explode during WrestleMania season. We all know more people tune in for WrestleMania season. That's not even deniable, is it? It's WrestleMania season. It's the most exciting time of the year because the casuals come in, and WrestleMania as a brand is so well established that, yeah, I sort of feel like let's get him a big singles match, which I think we're going to do against Drew. Then, you know, we'll have a look. Well, I don't know. I mean, Backlash is going to be, what, the one straight after? It feels too soon to me. It does feel too soon. I was just about to say, let's get him a big singles match at WrestleMania. The pay-per-view after, let's get him another one. Let's get him a good run. And then by the time we're getting, like, later into the year, I think, you know, for me, I'll be quite satisfied then. But, like, Backlash is the next show after WrestleMania, so I don't know. I think, honestly, I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't do it. I think it's too soon. That's my gut feeling. And I'm a massive Gunther fan. Massive, massive Gunther fan. But I think, honestly, it comes down to the fact I just haven't seen him defend the Intercontinental Championship on pay-per-views. He's had some great defenses on SmackDown. But I think the big spotlight of being on, like, the big monthly pay-per-view show, that is something that he's missing. NYC Mano Wart said Logan Paul versus Seth is the best match on WrestleMania cards. Is it? Is it? I mean, I think Charlotte Rhea has got great potential. I know that they faced off 3 years ago and it was all right, but I think that we're in a very different place now. I think Asuka Bianca should be a banger. Pretty much looking forward to that. Cody against Roman. Can't see any reason why that ain't gonna go. That should be good. I think that there will be. I think that there will be some competition for best match. Logan and Seth will be in the conversation, absolutely, because Logan, as we've said before, will be working on that match right now. Right now, they'll have an idea of what spots they're gonna do. And they'll have Summit plan that's going to make you go, OMG. And they're working on it now. They're planning it now. And he's preparing for it now. So that level of preparation, I just don't know that anything else on the card is going to match that level of preparation. But actual in their matches, in the moment kind of stuff, I think there's going to be several that are going to give that a run for its money. Actually, I think the card looks all right. I really do. I mean, everyone's looking at Brock and Amos, aren't they? And just, like, they're not happy about that. And I can understand because that is not a match that I'm expecting to be in the conversation for best match over WrestleMania weekends. But as we've said before, I do understand why they're doing it. I think it just looks visually very impressive to the casuals. But Logan and Seth will pop the crowd. Roman Cody will have the crowd, said Dragon Den. Brock is going to get a Moss, said TJB. Tyler, shout out to you, said, do you think Drew will beat Gunther for the title? I hope not. I really hope not. I mean, if he does, then we know they're freeing Gunther up to go after Cody and move up the cards. I don't want Drew to get the mid-card belt because, as I said, I think the record is there for Gunther. And I think they've done a very good job of making Gunther seem like something very special. If he loses this Intercontinental Championship run, it will have been a very, very good / great Intercontinental Championship run. It's hard to believe, but it's already the longest IC title run since, I think it's 1997, The Rock. And actually, we wasn't that far away from it overtaking that. And then it would be the longest IC title reign since 1990. So, looking at how long he's had it, and looking at the quality of matches that he's had, I think that you can say it has been great. It's been a great title reign. I will just keep coming back to that point I made before, though, because I do think it's important. EV matches are very difficult because you have ad breaks, whereas on a premium live event pay-per-view, you don't have commercial breaks. and it's a lot easier to deliver a match that the crowd can get lost in and engrossed with. It's very hard to do that on TV because here's an ad break and you're out of it, right? Even if it's picture in picture, you're out of it. So I sort of feel that him not having premium live event matches where he defends the IC title, I think that has been a little bit of a problem and has maybe slowed his growth a little. So for me, I would like to see him hold that belt, have more premium live event matches, drop the title once the record is achieved, and then go on to, go after Cody or whoever's at the top of the cards. It's timing at the end of the day, isn't it? If the time is now that we do need Gunther, well, step up. That's it, innit? Time's now. It's time. You sometimes don't get to choose when the time chooses you and it's time. So, it's one of those. In an ideal world, I'd keep it on him and I would do all of those things. But it's time. So, or potentially it's time. We'll find out, won't we? I do expect Cody to win. And I think the Gunther match will be interesting, but I do expect him to retain. I think it'd be such a shame to have Gunther actually now defend the title on a premium live event at a pay-per-view and then lose at WrestleMania. The show that's like the one that gets watched by more people than any other wrestling show. He loses on that. Like, I wouldn't do that. If we're building him up, then have him look like a killer, have him look like a winner in front of as many people as possible, and that is WrestleMania. Drew's had great success in recent years. WWE champion, 3 years ago? Hard to believe it was 3 years ago, but that was WrestleMania 36. And, he's been to the mountaintop. He's been involved in some good feuds. He is an established name. He can take a loss to Gunther. It wouldn't hurt Drew. Chris said, just wanted a fan to be the best of the best. Chris, shout out to you. Planet Dan said, according to PW Insider, Brock was saying goodbye to some people. Apparently not true. I don't. That is doing the rounds, but PW Insider put a message out saying that their words had been taken out of context or changed, and that wasn't true. Basically, I retweeted it on the Twitter because I got tagged in that story. A lot of people picked up on it, but pretty much immediately, PW Insider from their official account said, "We never said this." I didn't actually see what they said, right? I didn't see what they said, but they're saying that they didn't say that. Potato Man said, if Roman retains, I want the story to come full circle and have Jay beat Roman. TJB said, imagine a three-way of Reigns, Cody, and Seth. Seth wins, then has a rematch with Reigns, and then Cody. That would be my booking, said TJB. Tim said, if Vince was booking, Gunther would be singing and dancing every week. Danny said, will there be Bray? Oh, yeah, I'm sure we'll see Bray tonight. He's in a feud with Bobby, isn't he? And he made his presence felt to Bobby. So I'm sure we'll get some further development on that story tonight. That MSG Road to Mania show on March 12th, do you know if that's going to be shown? They haven't said it's going to be shown. I'm not expecting it to be shown. So at the moment, no. But they don't normally show it. They actually did that show last year. I remember. Do you remember they did Brock against... I can't remember who it was meant to be. I remember who it turned out to be. It was Brock against someone. Bobby. I think it was going to be Bobby. I don't think it turned out to be Bobby. And then he got attacked by the Bloodline. And I also remember Sami was on that show. And he did an open challenge. And Drew McIntyre came out. And he was like, okay, I'm going to be honest. Had I have known you was actually backstage, Probably wouldn't have done the open challenge. But this is all right. This is all right. I saw the clips from the show last year. So I think it's just a bit of a tradition, to be honest, to go to, well, I say a tradition. They did it last year. Where they go to Madison Square Garden on the road to WrestleMania. But yeah, no, there was people scrambling for last year's to get shown, and it didn't. I should do it. I should totally do it. Imagine that. Imagine we get, because it doesn't even have to be high quality, does it? Doesn't even have to be, just have like a couple of cameras. It's all right. We'll understand. Just have a couple of cameras and film it. And do you know what? Even if I don't see it live, don't worry about it. It's all right. Just pop it on the net, record it. You've got cameras. You've got people that work for you, and you've got cameras, right? You've already got the venue. You're already doing the show. You've already got the wrestlers. The crowd have already bought their tickets. Why not? Why not record it? Record it. Pop it on the network. Doesn't even have to be live. Does it? Doesn't even have to be live. Pop it on the network. Nice little. Here you go. You want to have a look, see what happened last week? Well, you can. Here it is. In its full HD glory. Enjoy. So I couldn't tell you why. I could understand there being a charge for, like, you know, doing it live. I could understand, like, getting the trucks over and all that kind of stuff, like getting the satellites and everything. I can understand that being a problem. I can't imagine it being much of a problem to record it and upload it. Do you know what I mean? Like thousands of people, millions that do that on YouTube every day. So, like, yeah, I don't know. I don't know why they don't do that. WrestleBuzz, shout out to you, said, I can't wait for UFC 285. Any thoughts on Bo Nickal? His a minus 1,800 favorite. I haven't really got any thoughts, to be honest. He's not someone that's on my radar. I don't really pay, well, when I say I don't pay attention to people outside of UFC. Bo Nickal is someone that I believe was massive in collegiate wrestling. And that's only something that I get, like, if there's a buzz around someone and they're coming into WWE or they're connected to WWE, that's when they'll come onto my radar. But, like, other than that, we haven't really got much visibility on it here either in the UK. So, no. I mean, I know that he's, 3-0. I think he's finished all of his opponents in the first minute. He's going to be one of the best wrestlers that the UFC has ever seen. He's minus 1,800, 2,000 favorite. He's taking on Jamie Pickett. It's a no-brainer that he's going to win. They've chosen that opponent because it's a match that he should win. It's a beatable opponent, right? They've absolutely given him someone that sets him up to set up fight. He wants to make moves. He wants to, like, go after the title. He absolutely can do that. Sky's the limit for him. Ranked. I mean, he'll be ranked. I can see them trying to get him to a title shot. I think they know there's buzz around him. And it's going to be interesting. It's going to be fun to watch his journey. It reminds me a lot of Ben Askren. Ben Askren came in and there was loads of buzz around Ben Askren. But the truth is, we just haven't seen Bo Nickal tested. I mean, all of his matches have been victories within the first minute. So what's his cardio like? What's his takedown defense like? How good is he when he's being punched in the face? Like, what's his chin like? I don't know. So there's all this, and I don't think we find out this weekend either. So there's all this excitement around Bo Nickal, which is cool. But I saw the exact same excitement around Ben Askren, and he got deaded by Masvidal. So I am going to just take it a step at a time. Take it a step at a time with Bo Nickal. I wouldn't get too carried away. Just watch his fights, and we'll just learn, more about him as we see him at this level, being tested against better and better opposition. But it's undeniable they're going to find him favorable opponents. They'll find him favorable opponents to make him look as good as possible. So, yeah, that's a big fight, that is. There's a lot of excitement around him. And I think I'm right in saying he opens the main card as well. So boom, straight in with a banger tomorrow. So yeah, Misfits boxing looks good. Misfits boxing, in case you didn't know, is in Telford. It's KSI's boxing promotion, right? He's not on the cards. I don't even know if he's there, actually. He might be. But it's going to feature the first ever tag team boxing match. Proper boxing, right? They're actually hitting each other, trying to win like you would in a boxing match. But it's tag team boxing. You can actually tag in your partner and they can come in. Now, there's a few interesting rules. One of them is the other boxer cannot get involved whilst the other boxers are changing over. So they can't go over and hit the substitute that's on the outside. Can't do that, right? You can't do it. Like, there's quite a few like WWE things that you're not allowed to do. So you couldn't go over and pull the person off the apron whilst they're waiting to be tagged or anything like this. You can't go doing that. You can't interfere whilst the boxers are tagging over, right? You can't do that. You've got to allow a clean tag. If the tag's made, you have to stand back and let them change over, and then the next person comes in. So there's the other thing they've said as well is that if you keep tagging back and forth, the ref can actually deduct points and could even stop the fight. So, you have to be very careful about abusing the tag as well. But yeah, that's something we're going to see tomorrow. Totally taken from WWE. If you're a fan of WWE, I think Misfits is taking a lot of stuff from WWE. They are taking a lot. Pineda, when he came walking out at Misfits 4, came out to Undertaker's theme music, for example. You see a lot of people trying to do promos against each other and trash talk against each other. I can't even begin to tell you how awful they are at doing it. They are absolutely horrific at doing it. Some of the trash talking is truly exceptionally cringe, right? I think that's maybe part of the appeal is how bad it is. It does make you go properly shudder. But some of the trash talking's okay. Some of it you go, okay, that was all right. Right? I would say 95% at least is horrific. It's proper just they don't know what they're doing, what they're saying. They don't have any good comebacks. They look awkward. It's just, oh my God. Yeah, not good. Some of it's not good. I actually think that's something that they need to change. I just think that if you can trash talk, do it, right? Brilliant, because it's a skill. Look how great LA Knight is, right? If you can talk, do it. But if you can't talk, don't try. Don't try. Just don't, because it's so bad. I was watching the press conference, honestly, and I had to keep turning it off and go back to it because some of it is so bad. But yeah, I don't know how I feel about tag team boxing. My initial reaction is don't like it. It's really dangerous because you're in a fight, you're wearing down your opponent and your opponent might be really hanging on, and then you're going to tag out and a fresh person is going to come in. That's going to be really dangerous, surely. It's going to be really dangerous. But then you can make the argument, well, it's no different to someone being in a one-sided fight and the one boxer just absolutely destroyed. It's gonna be, I would say more than ever, there's going to be a lot of pressure on the referee to make sure that he calls a fight when he needs to call the fight. If the fight needs to be stopped, do not hesitate. Because I would say, you could find yourself in a situation where one of the boxers hasn't been able to tag out, hasn't had chance to tag out, hasn't been able to get over and make the tag, and is proper worn down, and the other team are doing a great job of rotating, and he could be on the verge of going, could be in a really bad way. The other person could be relatively fresh because they've used the tag option well. And this is where the ref has got to be on his toes, man, on his toes. So I don't know. I don't know. I'm gonna have to see it. wrestling, boxing fans are absolutely aghast. They cannot believe this is even happening. And even the promoter, I saw an interview with him. He was like, well, let's see how it goes. The interview was like, can you defend this? Can you defend it? And he was like, well, let's see how it goes. So I think even they know that it's unorthodox. But yeah, that's tomorrow. So yeah, it's going to be a fun stream tomorrow. But it's going to be a fun stream now because we are going over to SmackDown. I think they're planning a long-term story with Sami winning the Rumble next year and getting the title at next year's Mania, with Kevin winning the other belt on the other night, said Steve. Edward, shout out to you. LFG, let's effing go. Yeah. Here we go then. Right. We know that we've got Cody and Roman opening the show. Come on. Got Michael Cole. We're in Washington, D.C. Roman. Here we go. This is going to be a big segment, man. It's going to be a big segment. This is what people are going to be talking about. People are going to be talking about this segment. First time we're seeing Roman and Cody face the road to WrestleMania. We are on it. We are running down it. Come on. I'm up for this. Let's go. Dun, dun. Let's go, said LD Cool. Haven't seen Roman in about 100 years, said Smurfy Tunes. People throwing up the wands. Right, we've got Jimmy, Solo, Roman, and Paul. Of course, there is no Jay in the bloodline at the moment. Head of the table, Roman Reigns. Right, brilliant. I mean, all they've done is come out and hold the belts up, but still, it's cool, isn't it? It still works, doesn't it? It still hits. After all this time, it still works. $915 days. 915 days. That's where we are. Ready for the Cody Pyro budgets. The announcer tries too hard. It sounds unnatural, said Lone Star Friends. People throwing up the wands. Roman. Cody. WrestleMania. 4 weeks. 4 weeks. Count them. 4. Days me. I don't think Cody wins at Mania. Roman is going to put both belts on the line and then he'll get to 1,000. If it was only the WWE title, then Cody wins. I don't see it. Okay. NYC Mano Wart said it still works, but with Cody, with Sami, it was next level. Gotta put it in the past, ain't we? Listen. There weren't many bigger cheerleaders for Sami than me. But it's done. As we said, look, there's different ways that this story can go. There's different ways to take the story. The story has ebbed and flowed, and, you know, they had a decision to make, and this is the way they've gone. Got to say, they're lucky that they've got exciting options. Do you imagine if they didn't do the Sami moment because at WrestleMania we're getting Roman versus Brock again, or Roman versus Batista? We didn't pull the trigger on Sami for Batista, right? But it's not, is it? It's Cody. It's different. I think we all want Cody to do it. It's Cody chance. Some noise coming out of there. Right, let's see what the tribal chief has got to say. Could you see the Usos defend the SmackDown tag team titles one night and the Raw tag team titles the other night? I don't even know if we're getting the Usos at this stage. We've got Solo and Jimmy, haven't we? I mean, Solo can obviously always come in and do the Freebird rule. Oh, wow. Look at this. We're getting Cody straight away. Straight away. Roman says, acknowledge me. And as soon as he finishes, here's Cody. Cody's music hits. Here he is. Smile on his face as he walks out into the arena. Roman in the ring, Solo in the ring, Heyman in the ring, Jimmy in the ring. Might want some backup on the road to WrestleMania, Cody. Might not want to do this on your own. It hasn't fared well for others. Roman's got one hand in his pocket. He's looking very calm, composed. Roman is going to beat Cody. This promo battle has got a lot of potential. Right, here's is that green shirt guy? Green shirt guy in the front row. Cody stepping on the edge of the ring. Roman in the ring. I think it is, isn't it? Yeah. Green shirt guy is there. Perhaps he's in Washington. Yeah. Is this a pay-per-view? Did someone not tell us? Right. Did someone not tell him? You're going to the WWE show in Washington. There's a WWE. Yeah. Oh, okay. Gets there. It turns out to be Smackdown. Right. Here we go. Cody chants. Cody. I'm not here to invade. I'm here for a conversation, says... Here to have a conversation. No reason for your compatriots. Unless you need them. He tells the wise man to go. Solo goes as well. But Jimmy. Okay. Jimmy staying. Okay, so, well, Paul Heyman and Solo are going. Jimmy is going, but Jimmy didn't say... Roman didn't say Jimmy could go. Jimmy's gone. I think he could have worded that better, couldn't he? Couldn't he have worded that better? Did he? He didn't say Jimmy, did he? Roman said, does that make you more comfortable? Chucks the WWE Championship down on the ground. And he chucks down the Universal Championship. What do you want to... What do you want to talk about? Nice disrespect there by Roman. Let's talk about you. It's gripping, in it. It is gripping. Seeing him put those titles down on the ground, drawing a line in the sand. Congratulations, Cody says to Roman. But let me tell you something about me. WWE Championship is the one Cody wants. If there has to be a division in them, he doesn't care about Universal, says Corvitz. Kick him in the crown jewel, said Tim. Oof. AEW reference. There's no way 10,000 would pay to see me and my buddy's little indie show. I don't think he's calling AEW an indie show, by the way. I think he was just talking about all in. Cody chants. For everyone else, Roman might be impossible, but not for me. This is amazing. Have you ever won that one? Have you even competed for one of these? Have you ever been in the main event of WrestleMania before? Because I'm pretty sure I've did all of that. I was groomed when I was a little boy to be in this position, not just by my father, but by your father too. Roman's taking a second here. I don't know if Roman's getting a little emotional. I'm not done with my story. Let's talk about your dad. I've got love and respect for him. Okay, so Roman's not going to be going anywhere. He's going to do a dream impression. He does a great impression. This is so good. So good, isn't it? Roman is spitting facts, said Alfie. Roman does a good Dusty. He does, yeah, baby. He called all of it. I love that line. You've got it. You couldn't get rid of it if you wanted to. He never said anything about you when I was with him. It was like you did not exist. I know this is a lot. I know you miss him. I miss him too. I know he's not here. If there's anything he didn't teach you, I will. Puts his hand out. Oh my God. I'm not even on the same field. I wouldn't go this way with it. Wouldn't go this way with this promo. Roman just killed it. The only way that I can exist is by beating you at WrestleMania. May the better man win. Well, lots to unpack there. I mean, look, I'll give you my initial reaction. Honestly, I don't care if people disagree. I think it's amazing. I think Roman is just killed it. I think everything he said was brilliant. Faultless. Couldn't find a thing wrong with it. And then Cody spoke. And when Cody said, Cody said, hang on, you didn't send Paul Heyman. You didn't send Paul Heyman to, like, get into my head. He's telling the truth. Like, you are the son that he wanted. That's... Why are we what? What? No. I mean, Dusty is... We all love Dusty. And so why are we bringing in this bit of doubt that Dusty wanted Roman to be his son? This is silly and pointless, and we don't need to go down that road. Like, we don't need to go down that road. There's a very clean, clear path, and it is that no Rhodes family has ever won the belt. Go and do it, Cody. Make your dad proud. Not whatever this is, this weird thing. I don't mind Roman saying, I'm the son that Dusty wanted. I have no problem with that. But why is Cody buying it? Why is he buying it? Why is he seemingly biting on it? I don't understand. Sure, I mean, like, what I would want to see from Cody is him just laughing, going, you think you expect me to believe that after everything you've done, whilst you've been champion, all the injustices that you have done, you think that you expect me to believe that my dad would want that for me and would be proud of that? He raised you and trained you to be better than what you've shown, to be even better than how you've, like, something along those lines. Not this, I'm the son your dad always wanted, and Cody going, are you? Oh my God. Like, that to me is a very strange angle to go down in this story where, like, I don't think we need to go down it. I just don't think we need to go down that. I love everything about Roman's promo, though. Everything about his sides. Brilliant. Really enjoyed it. Really enjoyed it. Really enjoyed it. And then the Cody bit was just like, I wouldn't have done that. Wouldn't have done that. It's not a disaster, right? Let's get this clear. I'm not sitting here and saying, blah, 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 this is the worst thing in the world. I'm not saying that at all, right? It's still brilliant. We're still loving it, right? Like, great. But I just think that these are very interesting decisions that are being made. And I'm not sure I understand why they're going that way. I don't understand what the payoff of this is going to be. Because I feel like you would tell this story to get somewhere. And I can't quite figure out where we're trying to get to. Does it fine? Like, I love Dusty. You love Dusty. The idea that we're trying to be told this story that Dusty never mentioned his son. And, would prefer Roman to be his... That's not what I want to think about when I think about this story. I want to think of Cody making his dad proud. That's what I want to think of. I don't want to think that Dusty was actually, not really appreciative of his son and actually saw more in someone else. Like, it's weird. That's just weird to me. I feel like we're muddying the water. I feel like they're trying to add an extra dimension to a story that doesn't need it. And I don't think the extra dimension even makes that much sense. Total sense, though. Total sense for Roman to say it. As the heel, Roman saying, your dad always preferred me. Brilliant. But I don't need Cody to start believing that. I don't need Cody to start being like, did he? Like, come on, Cody, don't be that gullible. Don't be that gullible. They're trying to get into your head. You're telling me it's working. Been in the wrestling business how long? Come on. You've played this game so many times. You can't be falling for this. So, other than that, though, and I know we've just spent a long time talking about that, but I wanted to make sure I explained my slight little criticism. Other than that, it's brilliant. The Roman stuff where he did the impression. I mean, I love that quote as well. The Dusty quote of "You've got it," and you couldn't get rid of it even if you wanted to. You couldn't sell it. It's within you. Like, wow, that is so powerful. Imagine being told that. Whatever it is you do. Imagine having like this mentor come along and say that you've got it. It's in you. You are it. And there's nothing you can do to stop being it. You are it. Like, wow. Oh, man. Imagine that. Imagine the lift that would give you. You know what I mean? Imagine like you're Jake Paul and you're doing your boxing. Imagine like Floyd Mayweather comes and watches a sparring session and then afterwards calls you over and says, you've got it. And there's nothing you can do to not have it. You have it. You've got it. Oh! Such a great story. All the Dusty stories are like the best parts of these promos. The one about him having to sell the car was amazing as well, just so they could keep the car. That was amazing as well. The more you hear about Dusty, the more he just seems like a guru. Do you know what I mean? The more he seems like he just has the answers. Amazing. I think he would have been very, very proud of what's going on, you know, and like seeing his son in that position. And true as well, people that he played such a massive part in their, you know, rise, because he was a big part of NXT. So I think he'd be very proud. Miss Clown 1 said, check my tweet out. It's something very nice. Very nice. What is it? I never needed you all. That is nice. I never needed you. They are releasing the Andre 87 belts. Andre 87. You can get replicas, but I think they've always been unofficial. That I don't know if they've ever made an official one before. That is nice. That is nice. For those that don't know, that was going to be Andre's belt if he beat Hogan at WrestleMania 3. They actually had it made, and it was obviously big, so that it would fit him. And, of course, he doesn't win at WrestleMania 3, so we don't get the belt. But we do see it. It does get shown, and now they're making replicas of it. That is nice. Guys, that's WWE Shop. If you do end up buying an Andre the Giant replica belt, use the link in the description. It just helps the channel and is greatly appreciated. Right, we are underway. We were at commercial break. We are back now. Get it. Oh, it's nice. I bet it's not cheap, though. Green shirt guy is next to yellow shirt guy. We've got all the guys in the house. Mitchell said, Cody never refers to Dusty as dad. He calls him Dusty. Dustin and Cody are 11 years apart. Dusty gave way more focus to NXT people than to Cody. It's what caused Cody to leave and make his own name. I mean, I don't know how to answer that, to be honest. I mean, it's his dad. He's grown up with him. He's been able to ask him questions his whole life. Cody even told that story about how the picture was in the bedroom, and he spoke to him when he was 8 about, you know, the winning the world title and all this kind of stuff. Like, Cody has been brought up. I know that Dusty wouldn't have been around all the time, but he will have had family time and personal moments growing up whereby his dad's he was there and he would have been able to ask him questions and learn and inspire him, and hence why he got into the business and all this kind of stuff. So I don't know. I mean, like the idea that Dusty gave more focus to NXT people than Cody, I don't know that I can agree with that. If you look at Cody's lifespan, if you look at his life and all the stuff that Cody will have learned and taken from his dads, and then compare that to what people in NXT got from Dusty, I don't know that I can agree. In fact, I can't agree. I don't think that they correlate. I mean, that is his dad. Dusty undeniably loves his son. And don't know. I mean, I know that there's other people that in NXT that took a lot from Dusty and that he inspired them. But he did, of course, he did the same to Cody. I mean, if Cody had a different dad, would he even have been a wrestler? My dad wasn't a wrestler. My dad wasn't Dusty Rhodes. I ain't a wrestler. So, I don't know. It's what caused Cody to leave. I think Stardust played a big part in Cody leaving, to be honest. The Stardust character is one of the lowest points in his career. He's spoken about it quite a bit recently. And he actually spoke to Dusty about that. And Dusty told him to make the most of it. You know, always try and make the most of whatever you get given. You know, try and make it work. And I actually think that he stuck with the Stardust character maybe longer than he even wanted to because of Dusty, because of his dad, because of the advice that his dad gave him. I mean, like, obviously, Dusty's got the right idea. You know, a promoter is only going to want to work with talent that's going to just take whatever they're given and, yep, let's do it. Let's make it work, yeah? If you're booking and you're promoting, you don't want constant problems. You don't want constant barriers. You don't want constant moaning and constant feedback. You just want to get the job done, move forward. You know, if it's not working, fine, we'll change direction, but you just want to be able to get the shows out there. You know what I mean? You just want to be able to put the show on TV. And if you're having people constant, and imagine if you're getting it from one person, you're probably getting it from at least 10 others. Like, you don't need that noise. So Dusty giving him that advice is right. It makes sense, but it wasn't right for Cody. That Stardust character was not going to get to a main event of WrestleMania, and that is what Cody wanted to achieve. That's what he believed he could achieve. That is what he's about to achieve. So I think that I don't think that he left because of anything to do with Dusty. I think he left because he had a gimmick which he knew was going to limit him, and so, you know, that's why he wanted to get back to wrestling and get into the indie scene and you know, see what other opportunities were out there. I don't know. I don't know how to answer that one, to be honest, because I can't see from that promo. I can't see why Cody is starting to buy what he's being told. Like, I feel like we get this, and this was my criticism a few weeks ago, and people didn't like me saying it, but sorry, I said it, and I think I was right then, I think I'm right now. We get this, like, what feels to me to be very real promo. I feel like the majority of what Roman has said is true, right? Whether he did ever mention Cody or not, I don't know. He probably did, right? At some point, he probably did mention or reference Cody. But really, why would he need to talk about Cody if he's, like, mentoring, right? So why would he need to? So maybe he didn't, but I would think at some point he probably did. At least drop his name in there or reference something he did, or just reference him in some way. But of course, for this story, it's better for Roman to say he never mentioned him at all, right? But I feel like, you know, when he says, how many of these have you won? How many times have you competed for these? Have you ever main evented WrestleMania? We already know the answers to this, right? We already know the answers to these things. What's really clever about this promo is when you learn how to do a promo, one of the first things they tell you to do, and I think it's something actually that Jim Cornette has mentioned on his podcast. Tell them some stuff. Tell them some things that they know is true. And then when you follow it with other stuff that's questionable, they will take your side because you've already told them stuff that you know is true. So, have you ever been in the main event of WrestleMania? He hasn't. We know he hasn't, right? So he's making a good point. Have you ever held one of these belts? He hasn't. We know he hasn't. He's making a good point. So later in the promo, when Roman turns around and says about the fact that your dad never mentioned you, we aren't there for all of those conversations. The only two people that are going to know if that's true is Dusty and Roman. But because he's told us some stuff that's true earlier in the promo, people will be inclined to believe Roman. They'll be a little bit more inclined to go that way and believe in what he's saying. I ain't buying it. I think there probably was some points where Cody was mentioned. But either way, I mean, like the idea that Dusty would want anyone else to be his sons when he was so proud of his kids. I mean, if Dusty had been a bad father, then I could understand. But remember to how Cody came in and how Dusty was right there. Go back to how Cody came in. Dusty was right by his side when they debut. Dusty is around all the time when Cody is there. He was very, 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 very proud of him. It's it's a weird narrative. And I don't know why they're going down that road. I don't know what the payoff is going to be. A win for Rhea, for Rippers. Rippers gets the win over Liv. Oh, dear. There's a girl that's crying. There's a girl in tears. Sami against Solo. Did you see that girl crying? I did, yeah. Are you going to watch Creed 3? I saw it. I thought it was great. Am I going to see Creed 3? I might do. I don't know. I love the Rocky series. The Creed series I thought was good. Thought they kind of brought it up to speed, up to date. But to be honest, it hasn't had the same impact on me as the Rocky. Like with Rocky, you know, like Apollo and Adrian and, do you know what I mean? Like Mr. T and all these kind of people. I couldn't tell you. I don't know what Creed's girlfriend's called, right? I don't know what his previous, like, opponents are. I think was Tava one of them? And Tava? I think Tava might have been one. I feel like Canelo's in this, but I don't know if he's an opponent. I don't know. It just doesn't feel quite the same as... Not as iconic as Rocky, let's put it that way. It's modernized. It's cool. And I think if you go and see it, I think you'd have a great time. But I don't think I'd go to the cinema. I think it's one of those that if it was on Netflix and I was flicking through to try and find something to watch, then I think I'd click on it and I would watch it then. But yeah, it's not quite Rocky. Have you seen The Mandalorian or any Star Wars for that matter? Have I seen The Mandalorian or Star Wars for that matter? I've seen Star Wars. Mandalorian? I haven't seen. The problem with Mandalorian for me is that I haven't seen the new Star Wars films and I can't remember everything about the old ones because I've watched them at various points in my life. I've never sat down and gone bang, 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 right? And I feel like that's what I need to do. And I tried to do that at Christmas a few years ago. I tried to go bang, 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 bang. I couldn't do it. I got so far into the first film and I was like, I mean, the first film's good, but I think I just looked at how many hours of Star Wars I was going to need to watch. And I was like, nah, not today. I'm not feeling it today. So I didn't do it. So now, like, I don't really want to watch The Mandalorian without kind of catching up on everything, you know. But that's 9 films, well, more that I would have to go through to bring myself up to speed. There must be like a video you can watch that just go, you know, Star Wars in an hour. Do you know what I mean? Here's this person, and this is how they connect to this person. This is this person, and this person, and blah, 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 and blah, 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 rather than having to watch all the films. I'm sure someone's done that on YouTube. But, yeah, that's the reason I've not watched it. But other than that, I do like Star Wars. I do like sci-fi. I like Star Trek. Star Trek's good. I like Next Generation, especially. I have never really watched the first, you know, the 60s ones. And I've only ever caught a few things from like Deep Space Nine and Voyager. I haven't seen any of the new ones. But the new ones look great. Next Generation is goated. And yeah, I've got the box sets. Like for Star Trek and whatever down here. And I've got Star Wars box sets. Just finding the time, to be honest. Did you ever watch The Hero hosted by The Rock? That's where LA Knight came from. No, I didn't. Matt. The Hero. Right, hang on. We're backstage with Roman. See what Roman's got to say. Did you speak to your brother? You know Jay. He's a hothead. He needs some time. So Jay needs some time. Roman is running out of patience. I'm running out of patience with you. Okay. The cracks are opening. I'm running out of patience, not with him, but with you. Oh. Just taking it out on everyone, isn't he? Right, you didn't have to watch all of Star Wars to watch The Mandalorian. You've only got to watch the original 3 that came out. The Mandalorian takes place after those. Ah, thank you. That's interesting. That's interesting. I always think, I mean, I know that you don't have to watch the films to watch, like, the recent films, the Disney ones. But I always think there's bound to be little references. There's bound to be little Easter eggs. And we get so much enjoyment out of that from the Funhouse and everything, you know? I just think that I would enjoy the movies more if I was able to watch them and go, oh my God, that totally calls back to such and such, or that's connected to, like, do you know what I mean? I feel like unless I watch the old films again, I ain't going to get those references. And I think I'll just enjoy the whole thing a lot more if I did do that. But that's interesting that you don't need to watch the other films to watch The Mandalorian. Yeah, I tried to do it on, like, I think it was Boxing Day one year, a few years ago. I said on streams I was going to do it. I was going to have a Star Wars day. And I just got so far into the first film, and I think I probably gave myself too much to do. I looked at all the films I was going to have to watch, and I was like, no, this can't be my day today. I probably need to just break it down, do a film a day. You know what I mean? Not that I've got that time, but here's Santos and ex-condom. Oh. Adam Pearce agrees. I'm going to teach you a lesson. I'm going to go into that ring right now, and if you're half the man that you say you are, you will meet me, hombre. The hombre. Okay, so what? I don't know what we're doing with Santos Escobar. We haven't seen the rest of Legado del Fantasma in a little while. Haven't seen Zelina Vega in a hot minute. He is running around as a face, isn't he? At the moment. So no, clearly we see something in Santos. We're trying to do something here. Dave, some fans want the Cody story to be more than just about Dusty. I feel there's more layers, like some reference to why he left and where he's been, but I feel WWE doesn't want to mention it. Yeah, I mean, then they're never going to mention AEW. They're not going to mention AEW. I don't think they should mention AEW, to be honest, because I don't think that needs to be part of the story. I mean, if people want to know why Cody went and did that, there's lots of interviews out there where he does cover it. It's not that he's got a hatred for WWE at all. Clearly, he's come back, having the time of his life. But it's more to do with the fact that he wasn't getting where he wanted to get to. He wasn't feeling fulfilled or satisfied, and wanted to be fulfilled. Wanted more, wanted better for himself, and went to New Japan. Tweeted out a list of names that he wanted to compete against. Very famous tweets. I think he put it on all his social media that had this long list of names of people that he wanted to go up against. And, he went off and he did that and had some great matches and great time with Bullet Club in New Japan. Obviously, then there was probably talk of them doing a show. And then that guy, I mean, famously, that one tweet from that one person, I mean, I think it would have happened anyway, so I don't think it necessarily changed anything, but it definitely elevated the story. Because someone, and I don't know their name, tweeted Dave Meltzer and said, do you think that any indie show could draw 10,000 people now in America? And Dave was like, no. And Dave wasn't wrong, because at the time, the answer was no. But this Cody saw that. Cody knew that he was going to be working on an indie show. And he was like, I'll take that bet. It's a bit of a myth that Cody saw that tweet and then decided to do the show. My understanding is the show was already in the works. Like, the ball had already started rolling. And when Cody saw that tweet, he was like, well, I'll take that bet because we're about to try. We're about to put on a show and we'll see. Let's go for the 10,000. And that's All In. And so All In is this big show, which, just kind of gets all this attention. It gets Tony Khan's attention. He then meets with them, proposes a company. My understanding is Tony went to them. They didn't go to Tony. So this thing just sort of took a bit of a life of its own. So, I understand there's probably a lot of fans out there that don't know this and might think that Cody just left and was upset with WWE and started AEW, right? They don't know the journey. And so I could understand that story being told to bring some clarity to what had happened. But as I said, there's a fair few interviews out there that kind of touch on all of this. You can go onto YouTube and get those answers. I think for me, this story should be kept quite simple because you don't need to overcomplicate it. The story should be that no Rhodes has ever won the WWE Championship. That's it. I thought they nailed it when they showed that picture of Dusty holding it. And then Cody pointing out that he wasn't actually the champion. And when he said that it was on the mantelpiece at home, pride of place, in Dusty's own bedroom, and it was amongst all his championship pictures and everything, this one was there as well because it was a moment. It was probably the highest that Dusty ever got in regards to, actually holding the belt, competing for the belt. He would obviously have a run with the polka dots, but by that point, he was a little bit past his prime. and kind of used in like more the mid cards, sort of upper mid card sort of area. You know, he was having feuds with Macho Man, which there's no problem with that, but he was not in like, you know, the main event of WrestleMania or anything along those lines. Like that was not his run at that time. But go back to the late 70s, and obviously he was in championship matches. And there was talk that he was potentially going to be the champ at one point as well. There was definitely conversation about making him the champion if he chose to move to the Northeast, but he decided against doing that. So, yeah, God, there is loads to this story, and I think that, you know, you can still dig into the fact that an icon like Dusty Rhodes was never WWE champion is pretty amazing. Do you know what I mean? Like, when you look at the history of wrestling, and you think that Andre the Giant only held it for a few minutes, that's pretty amazing. Dusty Rhodes never held it at all. That's pretty amazing. Like, Harley Race was never WWE champion. Pretty amazing. It's just, you know, it's the time, wasn't it? You had the NWA, you had WWF. So, you know, a lot of the big names at the time were not with the company. So that's why they weren't champion. But yeah, the fact that a Rhodes could finally get that belt, I feel like that's the right way forwards. Dusty was screwed out of the title, said Zoom Station. Having held WCW title is just as big a deal, said Inside Out and Again. I would have to disagree, only because that company is not around anymore. So at the time, it was just as big. But as we continue to move further and further away, you know, right now in this day and age, anyone that's getting into it, the kids that are watching wrestling, the kids that are getting into wrestling now, they are watching WWE, right? And AEW. I don't know how much the AEW title means to youngsters that are watching and people that are new to the sport. That would be an interesting, how important is that belt? It's only been around since 2019. The Universal title is older than the AEW World Championship. The NXT title is way older than the Universal, than the AEW Championship and the Universal. But it'd be interesting to know how valuable the AEW title is. But anyway, I think for people coming into the sport now, people want to know, you know, were they WWE champion? I think that's, you know, you can say that no, but they were WCW champion, or no, they were AWA champion, or they were NWA champion, or, you know, all these other ones that just, they don't mean as much in this modern age, do they? It's certainly true that at the time it was just as good. You know, we know that WCW, WWF at the time were head to heads. So yeah, just as good. NWA. I mean, at times NWA was, you know, outselling WWE, and same with WCW. So it's certainly an achievement. But I don't know. It's interesting, isn't it? As more time goes by, and though WCW gets like more of a distant memory, it's sort of like the victors write the history books, don't they? So it's like, I think being WWE champion is a massive deal in this day and age. To say that you had that, to say that the Rhodes family have never achieved it, it writes itself, doesn't it? Dusty Rhodes, Goldust. I mean, Goldust at the start was pretty hot. He was pretty hot. Like, he was very controversial. If they wanted controversy, they could have pulled the trigger and gone with Goldust, because he was very, very controversial. Very controversial. He was someone that when he came in, you know, you just didn't really know kind of sexuality wise, like what was going on. People didn't know if he was straight or if he was gay or if he was bi or what was happening really, and he was very confusing and controversial because we'd seen wrestlers like that in wrestling before, and Adrian Street, for example, and the adorable Adrian Adonis and Gorgeous George. Like all these people had been in that had kind of didn't quite know. I mean, not that it should matter, and of course it wouldn't matter as much now, but at the time it was controversial, and they could have gone with Goldust. They could have pushed him, and controversy creates cash. Famously, that's the name of Eric Bischoff's book. So they could have gone with that, but they didn't. So the fact that we're still here and one of the most famous families in wrestling has never held the WWE Championship is pretty crazy. I do expect that, as I keep saying, I do expect that to change at WrestleMania. But yeah, the story behind it, the reasoning behind it, the build for it, very interesting. It is very interesting. Do you think the MJF worked shoot promos, constant WWE jabs, signing so many talent has caught up to AEW to the point where they're not taken seriously? I think that they don't have very good storylines, to be honest. I don't think that it's... I think that some of MJF's recent promos have been a bit off. And I think that... I think the jabs at WWE aren't necessarily a problem. I think what they have done is alienate WWE fans that potentially would have checked them out. If they'd have not took such a harsh stance against WWE, then some WWE, not all, but some WWE fans might have been a bit more open to checking out that product. But if you're a WWE fan, a proud WWE fan, and another promotion is telling you how rubbish it is, there's going to be some resistance. And I think that has alienated certain people. And so you could definitely say that you could say that has alienated some, but then equally you could say that it has engaged some as well. That there's definitely been some people that can't stand WWE, hate it. So if another promotion comes along saying that WWE is trash and we're going to do it better, that's going to engage those people. So I don't know how it measures out. I don't know if they gain or lose more by going in a certain direction. But again, we keep saying it. It's very, very simple. AEW just needs a good TV show. They just need good storylines. It's not complicated. It's not complicated. Keep it very, very simple. Tell good stories. Have engaging characters. Have good builds, and you'll have the viewers. People just want to watch good content, entertaining content. We're underway with Dominic and Santos. Santos has brought Rey's mask down to the ring. And it's over in the corner. It's on one of the... it's signed. It looks lovely, by the way. It looks really nice. It looks like every wrestling fan's dream item or a dream item for a man cave. Imagine you have you're a wrestling fan, some friends come over and you've got this Rey Mysterio, actual Rey Mysterio mask signed by Rey in a little glass case. That's like a dream, that is. Well, he's just got it on the I'm guessing it's going to get ripped up or stolen or something, but it's over in the corner at the moment as we're underway with this match. Stuck underneath by Santos. Down goes Dominic. So both are down at the moment. We're almost at the halfway point. Senpai Supremia. Shout out to you. Senpai. Fenpei. Pie Empire. Pie Empire. Wow, Rhea with a riptide to Santos. I'm just going to go with Supremia. That sounds like a lucha name. Sounds better than Commander. Dominic, frog splash, connects. 1, 2, 3. Rippers, jumps onto the edge of the ring, counts. The 1, 2, 3, along with the referee as ex-con Dom gets the win. So Rippers with the riptides. So Dominic wins and steals the mask. Starts ripping the mask. Stop saying sign me up. Ex-con Dom wins. Can women have a man cave? I would love one. And the man in my cave would be Roman, says Maggie. You can have a woman cave. Lady cave? No, don't call it lady cave. Don't do that. Rey's music hits. Here is Rey Mysterio. I mean, shaking his head. Hit me. Hit me. Come on, Rey. He chucks it on the floor and starts walking away. And he nails Rey Mysterio. Cheap shot. Rey Mysterio goes down. I think this is really good. The heat, it just keeps getting heat on Dominic. But there has to be a payoff. I don't think that payoff, I've said before, should be Rey hitting him. Someone needs to give Dominic a good beating. But I don't think it should be Rey. I don't know who it should be. I don't know. You see, Rey, I don't think Rey should do it, should beat up his son. But if someone wants to do it for Rey, equally, I think Rey could not get involved. Do you know what I mean? I could see Rey coming down during the match, being really torn about, do I save my son from this situation, even though he's been a douche, and maybe he decides not to, and then the crowd would pop. You know, but he ain't done nothing. He ain't put his hands on his son. He's just equally, this is your fight. This is your fight. He walks away. Tuck versus Rey at Mania. Surely Tuck Rhea. Oh, here's Sami. Sami. Roman. The bloodline is crumbling. I know tonight's not about wins and losses. Brilliant, and it's really good. Sami with his hood up, walking, cutting this video, and he knows as soon as he takes his hood back and everyone can see his face, people were saying Sami anyway, but as soon as he takes his hood off and does that, of course people are going to respond because they're on camera. Look at the Sami chants. It's just a great example of just being so experienced and knowing exactly how to work the environment you're in. I mean, he does his promo. pulls the hood back, holds the camera up, gets the fans engaged, gets the Sami chants going. They're not actors. That's real crowds all there. I mean, look at the amount of people that are there in the concourse that are just, around. And Sami has just used them, basically. Got them involved in the little video clip. Brilliant. Good. Very good. Just sending a message saying how the Bloodline are crumbling. He knows how it works. I like him saying, I know that tonight is not about wins and losses. I think that's really clever because we spoke earlier about how there's probably going to be some screwy finish to that match. But Sami's already saying it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. It's not about wins and losses. I know how this works. It's not about wins and losses. Does not matter. Dun, dun, dun. All that for a tag title shot sucks. He should be in the main events. WWE doesn't know what to do about Sami's sudden popularity. Days, now that Sami has cooled off, do you think it was right for Roman to win their match? Do you think he's cooled off? I think he, I think they have shifted the focus away from him. But I don't know that he's cooled. I mean, I still love Sami as much as I did a few weeks ago. I think what there is there's acceptance that this is where the story is going. I will never change my opinion that they should have pulled the trigger and I had many conversations about it. And everything about booking, right? Everything about booking would say that you don't put the belt on Sami, right? I understand that. Because why would you have Roman lose that close to WrestleMania, right? Understand. But we spoke so many times about different ways that they could have made it work. And we spoke so many times about like different things they could have done. I think there was what it seemed to come down to for me was if you believe in Sami and you want to capitalize on that moment, you could have put the belt on him, right? Equally, you could have, right? You could have. We've spoken enough about how you could have done it. You could have done it. And even at the start of this stream, we said about how when you're booking, like you might have a white sheet of paper where you can do whatever you want, but equally, another part of booking is here is this scenario, make it work. Like that happens all the time with injuries and people like walking out like Sasha, and all of a sudden you've got to completely change plans. That is just part of wrestling. That's part of booking as just as much as here's a blank sheet of paper, give me your dream WrestleMania. Here's a scenario, make it work, right? Well, here's the scenario. I want Sami to go over in Montreal, make it work, right? If there was people out there that couldn't make it work, couldn't figure in their head how to make it work, that's fine. That's absolutely fine. There's people that have been watching wrestling for a very short time. There's people that have been watching wrestling for a very, very long time, right? And for me, I still don't see any reason. I really don't. I've listened to the other side of the argument. I listened to Jim Cornette, who was vocal in saying that they've done the right thing. I listened to some other podcasts and things where they said they'd done the right thing. Equally, there was Dave Meltzer and Brian Alvarez and other podcasts saying they'd done the wrong thing. Like this one really did split opinion. And I think the truth is that if you wanted to get behind Sami and you wanted to capitalize on that moment, you could have done it. If you wanted to go all in on Cody and you think that is the more important thing to do, go all in on Cody. Cody is the one that wins both belts. He's the one that ends Roman's reign. He's the one that, gets all that shine. Then, you can go that way as well. There's people that think Benoit should be in the Hall of Fame, and there's people that think he shouldn't, right? This is wrestling. There's different opinions and different ways to go about doing things. I I think did they make the right call? I would say they made a call. That's what I would say. I think that's the fair way to word it. They made a call. Was it the right call? It was a call. Because the truth is, Sami is red hot, but Cody is red hot. You've got two red hot stars. And so do you go and give a bit to Sami and then do Cody at WrestleMania? Or do you just go all in on Cody? You could go either way, make a decision. The decision was made. So, yeah, the decision was made. You can't necessarily sit here and say that it was wrong because WrestleMania is going to be massive and the Cody story is going to be massive. I do feel sorry for Sami. Right, here we go. I think this is going to be Gunther. Drew has come out. There's an individual I want to beat the schnitzel out of. Schnitzel. So he calls out Gunther. Gunther! I want to beat the absolute schnitzel out of you. Sheamus is coming out. Is Sheamus going to say, not a great idea? Listen, birds, of all the ideas you've had, this isn't your best. What you doing? This is nothing personal. You know how much I want that championship. Sheamus getting upset. Don't tell me to calm down. You knew I wanted Gunther at Mania. Oh. Right. I mean, we've seen it so many times, but it's one of them rivalries, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? They were just born to fight each other. The truth sometimes hurts. You had your chance and you lost twice. LA Knight. LA Knight Sheamus. LA Knight Sheamus. No, I don't hate it. I don't hate it. Let me talk to you. Vladimir said 2022 to 2023, RIP Bang Bros. You can't have an LA WrestleMania. LA Knight is, New Day are coming out. New Day are coming out. They're not even paying attention to LA Knight. Sheamus against LA Knight, I really wouldn't mind, you know. If Drew goes after Gunther, and I'm sure that's the plan, what do you do with Sheamus? I feel like LA Knight, he gets a great reaction. People in the chat love it when LA Knight comes out, so I feel like he deserves some shine. New Day. Yeah, they've come out to apologize on behalf of LA Knight. They're mocking him. This is sad. LA Knight can't even win a match on SmackDown at the moment. Is Carrion. Carrion and Scarlett making their way down. Where's this going? What's happening? I mean, you'd think 6-person tag, wouldn't you? Old school would make you think 6-person now, but LA Knight gets clotheslined over the top. Xavier. Oh. Sheamus turns around. Drew's there. Drew goes over the top rope, comes crashing down. Carrion. I just say, one of the things that I noticed during this segment is just how god-awful everyone looks. Just really awful. New Day have come out. I mean, Kofi has come out in some casual tracksuit thing. Xavier's come out in just some really uninspiring clothes. I think Carrion looks good in this shirt. Sheamus is just in his trousers with his normal coat and hat on. Drew's just wearing his jeans and his black top. LA Knight's just wearing jeans and like a red t-shirt. There's nothing that special ring-wise, gear-wise. But then you've got Carrion. And Carrion in this shirt, I think, it's a good look for him. You could maybe make the arguments a little bit Corbin, but yeah, I think the New Day need to be a bit more fun with what they're wearing. Carrion clears the ring, basically, and that's the end of the segment. That seemed a little bit unfocused. I'm not too sure what they're trying to build towards with all of that. I mean, Drew going after Gunther makes sense, but how does LA Knight, New Day, and Carrion tag match? But what do you do with Sheamus? What do you do with Sheamus? I was down for Sheamus LA Knight, to be honest. I was giving that some serious thought, and I was like, do you know what? Could be pretty fun. Sheamus is a brawler. LA Knight is a talker. That could be all right. New Day versus LA Knight and Carrion's a bit weird, isn't it? It's just a bit weird. Don't think they'll go that way. I don't know. What do you think? Ladder match, says Meave. I think NXT has been more exciting than Raw and SmackDown lately, said Rare Breeds. Multi-man ladder match for the IC title. Carrion, LA Knight, Sheamus, Drew, Kofi. Yeah. The only downer there for me, I mean, look, that gets people on the cards. The only downer is that if Gunther has a one-on-one match, it's going to be a match of the night contender. Gunther against Drew would be a match of the night contender. Ladder match, I mean, what can you do in a ladder match now that hasn't been seen like a million times before? ladder matches have got lots of spots. It's a way of, popping the crowds. It's a way of getting loads of people on the show, but it's probably not going to be 5 stars or even 4.5 stars. We've all seen so many ladder matches, multi-person ladder matches now. I'm not against it. I certainly wouldn't be against it if the champion was someone else. But because it's Gunther, oh my God. I mean, Gunther just keeps on delivering with his one-on-one matches. So I think to not have a Gunther one-on-one match would be a real shame. It would be a shame. But listen, it's WrestleMania. You do need to get certain people onto the cards. I mean, if we don't get the likes of Akira Tozawa on there or Maximum Male Models, do you know what I mean? I'll be all right. But we probably should find a way of getting LA Knight onto the card. We should find a way of getting Sheamus onto the card. So ladder match, I think it's a really good shout. Yeah, I think it's a really good shout. I think that could be one way they're going to try and get people onto the cards. And it'll still be fun, won't it? It'll still be fun. It just probably won't be 5 stars. It's just very hard to get a 5-star ladder match now because so much has been done. So much has been done. But they don't really, I don't think they think of it that way, do they? When they're booking like stuff like this, they're just trying to make sure they get the big names onto the cards. And, you tell the average person that there's going to be a ladder match. People are going to get excited for it. I just wish it was for the US title. And it was Austin Theory in a ladder match. Then we could have a single Gunther match, Gunther one-on-one. Gunther Drew. I think I was so excited for Gunther Drew. I got myself all excited for something that hadn't been announced. Right, where are we? We've got 40 minutes. 40 minutes to go. Oh, hello, earlier today. Oh, yeah, do you know what? I've only just realised we haven't seen anything to do with Bray. We haven't seen anything Bray. Right, earlier today we've got Shayna, Ronda holding her arm. Ronda unable to compete, apparently. Here's Shayna. Ronda making her way down, her arm in a sling. So, apparently, Ronda injured. So, it was going to be... yeah, she looks very focused. It was going to be with against Tegan, wasn't it? Here's Natalya. So Ronda injured, and now we're getting Shayna versus Tegan Nox. Tegan making her way down to the ring. Halftime score, even though I missed some of the show, said X Music. I think we're almost at 3/4 scores, aren't we? I haven't got a 3/4 score song. But we can ask the question when we get there. I think LA Knight should win. King of the Ring, said Dominic. Fiona said, even Brock Lesnar shows up more than Bray since his return. They are ruining him. The show fell off after Roman Cody segment, said Big Time Baxter. John says, maybe ladder match night 1 winner could have Gunther on night 2. The only I like it, because if I can still have my one-on-one match, I'll be pleased. But I suppose the only concern would be that, if they get injured night 1, then obviously that then causes big problems for night 2. You'd have to go with, like, someone that finished second or, Like you'd have to find a mystery opponent instead or something, which would still be, you could still find a way of making it fun and make it work. But maybe that's just because wrestlers, back in the day used to work, all the time, even some days twice a day. So the idea that a wrestler would work on the Saturday and they'd be too tired for the Sunday is just not how wrestling works. They are. Maybe this generation aren't used to it as much, to be honest. Maybe this generation aren't used to working as frequently as that, but certainly not that long ago, it was quite a grueling schedule. I think now they tend to only do weekends. Don't tend to see any house shows during the week. It just tends to be like Saturday, Sunday. But either way, they could. Don't think they will. They'll probably do it where the belt is above the ring, but knee strike by Shayna. Tegan in the ring is down. Shayna looking for the arm, and Tegan taps. Tegan taps straight away. Didn't put up much of a resistance. So there we go. Shayna Basler picking up the win. Yeah, Natalia just checking on Tegan. I think she broke my arm. Oh, Kayla looked a bit different there. Kayla Braxton. Gunther! It was a disgrace. Yeah? Are you concerned? He wants to do battle for this great prize. Preach, Gunther, preach. Wow. Brilliant. The Almighty is here, right? This will be the Bray segment then. Yeah, I mean, he just talks about like this great prize and not having a worthy challenger and legacy. Everything he talks about is so grand. He talks about the grandest stage of them all. He talks about his legacy. Do you know what I mean? Like all the stuff he uses, all the terminology, it's so big and grand and love him, man. Love him. Oh yeah, Cena. When's that? Is that Monday? Is now? Is this Monday? How about you grow a set? Face-to-face, Seth freaking Rollins and Logan Paul. I'm tired of Bray, said Philly. Just wrestle. Just wrestle. Just wrestle. In this great sport. Anything Gunther touches turns to gold and gets over. He's just so legit. Isn't he? He's just legit. No nonsense. Just wants to have great matches. Talks about his legacy. It's just a throwback. It's just a throwback. I mean, what I will say is you do need the wacky stuff to make his stuff have the impact it has, because you've got maximum male models and Seth wearing his outrageous attire and Bray Wyatt doing muscle man dances and all this kind of stuff. When Gunther in his tracksuit comes out with the belt over his shoulder and talks about this great sport, talks about the legacy of the Ring General and, having a worthy opponent and all this kind of stuff, and the fact that he's had the bangers that he's had on the consistent basis that he's had, you just buy it. You just buy it. Every single word, everything he says. Just go, yeah, I believe everything this man is telling me. Everything he is saying. He wants a worthy challenger. He said it was like he laid into management for not finding, someone for him already. And he's frustrated that they've not found a challenger, a worthy opponent. You just want to see who can do it. In a way, he's very much like Roman, in the sense of he's had the belt a while, and we're now starting to see who can do it. Who is the one that can beat Gunther now? It's very similar. He doesn't have a bloodline and he doesn't have a Sami, but he's got a decent title reign that's, I think they said 300 days now. It's a third of what Roman has achieved. But 300 days, that's still very significant. As we said, longest reign since 97. And actually, I think it has now bypassed that. I'm pretty sure it has gone past that. And so I think now it's the longest reign since 1990. Although, actually, let me look, 'cause it might have gone past that. I don't think it has. Let's have a look. Intercontinental Championship reign. Where is the Ring General? There is championship reigns. 1990 was 280. 97 was 265. So 265 was 97. 280 was 1990. Before that, you've got to go to Honky Tonk Man. You've got to go to Honky Tonk Man, which is 454. 454. And Gunther now. Oh, well, hang on. It says here 266. I'm sure he just said 300. Well, according to Wikipedia, it says 266. So according to this, he hasn't. 266. Has he got past the 97 one? Yeah. Okay, so it is definitely the longest since 1990. And we're potentially there or 2 weeks away. Rough ballpark. But the longest record is 454. We are talking, I mean, honestly, incredible title reign this is. Incredible. Doesn't actually get the respect it deserves kind of title reign. Right, we've got Bibbs. Bibbs has got the shades on. Bibbs is looking good. Bib. For the past 2 weeks. Bray Wyatt has been telling me to run. I don't run. He says Muscle Man Dance was a sign of weakness. Okay. He calls out Bray. Calls out Bray. He says, Muscle Man Dance was a sign of weakness. Ooh, is this new entrance? Oh, is this Howdy's entrance? I think this is Howdy's entrance. Are you going to be in the ring? We've got a very... Yeah. Did he say the devil Howdy? Uncle Howdy attacks. I don't want to see Uncle Howdy getting treated like this. Uncle Howdy is like, he's been planted by lights have gone out. Uncle Howdy gets beaten up, gets dealt with. Lights go out, and now he's gone. I think he called him the devil Howdy. I don't know about that segment. I mean, wow. Jay said, leave me the hell alone. Don't understand how he can do this. This didn't start happening until Sami came. Gonna fix the Sami problem. Get rid of him. Get rid of Sami, Jay will come home. I don't know if I follow that logic. Get rid of Sami, Jay will come home. I'm just thinking, like, if you are in a country that's quite oppressive and there's protesters, perhaps that gives you more courage to stand up if you see other people doing it. Whereas if you do get rid of Sami, Jay's got 1 week. You understand? If Jay's not in the bloodline in 1 week, I won't blame Sami. Oh. I thought he was going to say, I'm going to blame you. I thought he was going to say, I'm going to blame you. If Jay isn't in the bloodline in 1 week, I'll blame Jimmy. Well, this story just keeps rumbling along, doesn't it? It is Bray didn't show up, which is good, but the whole thing is dross, said excellence of execution. Yeah, let's just go back to that Bray thing. So I don't mind Bray staying away. I don't need him to have a match before WrestleMania. I don't mind that. I do think though that we spent a lot of time building Howdy up. Right, we built Howdy up as being this new character that's kind of stands by Bray's side, but in a way, it kind of felt that he was guiding Bray, because Bray was lost, basically, and Howdy guided him to find himself again, right? So when Bray first came back, obviously he was all innocent. I'm nervous, all that kind of stuff. This is me. This is the real me, no mask. And Howdy was like, you're a liar. And you fast forward the story, and all of a sudden, Bray rediscovers who he is. Boom, we're off to the races. Now we've got fun houses. Now we've got Run being mentioned. We've got rocking chairs in the ring. Blah, 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 blah. Lovely. So it sort of feels like Howdy is of importance and is right by Bray's side. I just think seeing him getting attacked and beaten down by Bobby, I understand that you've got to make Bobby look strong going into this match. And you can definitely make the argument, well, if he's not going to beat up Howdy, what's he going to do? Beat up Bray? Like, how do you make Bobby look strong? How are you going to make him look strong? I mean, you could have him just going up against people and beating people. You could just put him in there against some credible opponents and have incredible wins and just continue to build him that way and then call him Bray out, constantly pointing out that Bray is ducking him. Like, you could go that way. I don't know that we needed Howdy to be attacked and beaten up. Don't know that we needed Howdy to have that kind of moment of weakness. And then lights go off, come back on again, and Howdy's gone. Lights going off, honestly, I've never been the biggest fan of it, but I think when it was done sparingly in the past, it had some impact. I don't know if it's WWE or if it's AEW. It's probably AEW, but it's been done so much now. I really see it as cringe. I really, really see it as cringe now. It just feels like a cheap way to get out of a situation. It just feels like creatively, we don't know what to do. Let's just turn lights off. Turn lights off and he can be gone and we'll get out of it that way. It just feels cheap. So I wasn't really feeling that Bray segment because, as I said, I think you've had quite an important player in this story get beaten up. And then rather than fighting back and giving some back to Bobby, we've done a real cheap lights out thing. And then that is it. I mean, there really was not much to that segment. Again, it's not a disaster, but it's just, I think for me, tonight's show is an all right show. It's an all right show. And what I like is that there are things happening. Like, there's definitely talking points. But I am just finding myself a few times tonight saying, ooh, wouldn't have done that. Ooh, wouldn't have gone that way. Fatal 5-Way has been announced for the Intercontinental Championship. I like that. So we were talking of the idea of maybe a ladder match, which has got its merits, but I think we lose the Gunther one-on-one match if we do that. I really like the fact that we're doing that, though, and that there's going to be a Fatal 5-Way. That can be an up. Here's Solo. We got 17 minutes to go. So we've got Kofi, Sheamus, Drew, LA Knight, and Karrion Kross. So we've got all of those guys going to be in a Fatal 5-Way. Here's Solo making his way down. Solo against Sami, our main event. How's this going to go? Are we going to get Jay in this? Roman is watching. Could Jay arrive and make a decision this week? I don't think he will. It feels like they're setting up next week to be the week. It feels like next week is going to be the week where things are the deadline, you know? Solo, Sikoa versus Sami Zayn. If Jey doesn't show up next week, Jimmy Uso will be blamed. Here's Sami. Whoa, 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 whoa. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Let's go. Time for the main event. Dominic said, if everything Gunther touches to gold, have him touch Hit Row. Don't even know if Gunther is has got a magic touch magic enough. Row are a bit of a problem, to be honest. Little bit of a problem. Sami racing down to the ring. In the ring comes Sami. Sami has got to know that Jimmy's going to get involved, of course. He said he knows that it's not about wins and losses. Sami all over Solo. Jimmy coming in the ring already, gets chucked over the top rope. Sami pulling the top rope down. Sami goes against the ropes, over the top. And he comes crashing down. Back in the ring goes Sami. Reaction. And we're seeing backstage Roman watching on. Sami chants. Sami coming over. Right, bell has sounded and we are underway. I've got no idea. I only watch SmackDown. I work a lot. I am invested in the Bloodline story, says Giovanna. Shout out to you. Sami's theme always reminds me of Sellout by Real Big Fish. I don't know that one. Help me. I need Dr. B. Shout out to you. This match is already 10 times better than the whole show so far, said Chris. Dominic said, personally, I think Stardust was fine when he was with Goldust. I believe they should have held the belts more when it was Stardust went with the Ascension. That's when it went downhill. What were they called? Were they called Toxic Wasteland or something? Clothesline by Solo. Can't remember what they were called. Some at Wastelands. But yeah, I think though that there was a ceiling there. He could be a tag champ, he could be a mid-card champ, but Stardust being built up to challenge Roman and be a credible challenger to Roman or Cena or whoever it was at the time, it just wasn't on the cards. That was seemingly a mid-card gimmick. You know, there's some gimmicks that are just going to be really hard to get them up to a main event level. And I think Stardust was one of those, to be honest. Could have been a multiple-time tag champ, multiple-time Intercontinental champ, multiple-time United States champ, all of that, no problem. But main event in WrestleMania as Stardust, winning multiple WWE championships as Stardust. Don't think it was happening. Vince always booked long-term stories, says Meave. WWE said Roman will lose at WrestleMania, says Darren. Roman is more psychological and diabolical kind of heel. Team said it's pointless to keep having Jey just pop up every week. It's going to get old. Yeah, I think they might know that, and that's why we've got the deadline next week as well. I am going to guess that he'll pop up and he won't get involved. If he does, it'll be to either stop Sami doing something or it'll be to stop Solo doing something. But it won't be that he's picked a side. It'll just be that he won't want a beatdown after to take place if he does do something. But it's not that he's picked a side. It's just that he's still potentially torn. Reason why I don't think we get an answer this week is because they have really set next week up as the deadline. You know, Roman said that Jimmy has got 1 week. Got 1 week to get Jey on side. Otherwise, I'm going to blame Jimmy. So that means that we go into next week with the question, how's it going to go? Has he done it? Which way is Jey going? And there you go. That's how you get people to watch next week. So that's why I don't think we get the answer on that this week, because I think that's going to be the hook for next week. But should be good. I'm guessing. I really think he'll go back with the Bloodline. I think he'll go back with the Bloodline. I think just when it's going to look like things are falling apart for the Bloodline, they'll just get strong again. You know, it's just another barrier for Sami, a problem for Sami, a problem for Cody. You know, Sami wants to bring the Bloodline down. If Jey does stay away, then it's starting to crumble, isn't it? It's starting to go. I think he's going to choose to stay. I think it's too soon. We've still got 4 weeks, said Keen. 1 Minute Wrestler said it's an amazing show. Doesn't matter who wins. Gunther will better be champ for a while, said Corey. Maybe WWE give Usos a break from the defense of the titles, keep them apart at Mania, says Darren. Watson said, if we're being real, Gunther Brock looks good on paper, but wouldn't live up to the standard of a Gunther match. Brock only has 5 minutes. I personally would have Gunther, Drew, and Sheamus. Back from commercial break, we are. James said, as Alexa Bliss left WWE, rumors say so. Her tweet makes it look so. Haven't seen a tweet, haven't seen any rumors that she's left. It's believed that they changed like plans for her. I think her tweets are protected. Are they still protected? They were protected. You had to be like a follower of hers to be able to see her tweets. Or she changed that? No, she changed that. Pilates kicked my butt today. That's what she said 2 hours ago. Any recommendations on shows to start? No, I don't think there's anything there that makes me think she's going. Just because she's asking for some shows to watch. Maybe she's finished all the stuff that she's wanted to watch. Right, where are we? Is this the final segment? I think so. 9 minutes left as Solo collides into Sami. Sami down in the corner as Solo comes over. Sami is on the middle rope. Shot coming in there by Solo. Strike coming back by Sami. Kick coming in by Sami. Sami kicking away, looking for a tornado DDT by Sami. Only gets a 1. Sasha left. Money will make anyone do anything, said Curse One. It had to do with a pick of female wrestlers, and she was not in it, and she said figures. That tweet does not have anything to do with WWE, said me. Post-UFC, Brock is overrated. His rookie years are his best version, said Seth. WWE AEW fan said, I'd be happy if you did streams for the World Series. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think we would, to be honest. I don't think we've got the community for that. We've never really ventured into baseball at all. Solo collides into the corner. Blue Thunder Bomb connects. Shoulder up. Days, who wins Saturday? I've got John Jones. Round 3, said Dominic. It's going to be great, isn't it? It's going to be absolutely awesome. I was watching the press conference. Getting very excited. I've got Jones winning. He seems like very comfortable, but Garner's got some wonderful skills, you know. He is a fantastic fighter. Smo and Spike, Sami down. 1, 2, 3. Solo wins. Wow. Thought we were going to get a... The night is not over for Sami. Sami gets a loss. Yeah, well, we can't have Sami being too popular. Shots coming in. Is this where Jey could try and prevent this beatdown? This is your fault. Solo wins, and I believe it was clean. Solo backs up in the corner. Let me get him, Moose. Let me get him, Moose. So Jimmy's going to collide over. Sami gets up. Throws the chair at Solo. Haluva kick by Sami. I thought Jey was going to make the save, but no, Jey couldn't be bothered. Jey couldn't be bothered. Even Jey's tired of coming through the crowd now. Sami with a chair. Solo coming at Sami, and Sami jumps out the ring, goes into the crowds. They booked this loss for a reason, to stop the Sami hype going into Mania. Do you know what, though? It did just cross my head. I did just think, I wonder if that'll backfire. I wonder if that'll backfire. I don't know. I don't know if the fans will just accept it and just stay focused on Cody, or if it has the opposite effect. If they see Sami being like taking L's, and then obviously the reports are they're worried about his popularity, you know, it's clear to see what they're doing. So does that make you rebel a bit more? This is a dude that's got his hand out. Shake his hand, Sami. Shake his hand. Don't leave the dude hanging. There was a guy that had his hand out like this, and Sami was I don't know if he was ignoring it on purpose, or if he's just dialed into like this moment or whatever, but he didn't shake the guy's hand. Proper heel move. Heel turn. Heel turn. Heel turn by Sami Zayn. So they got the win. Sami ends the show celebrating in the crowd. That dude, man. Oh. Oh, poor guy. I mean, it's one thing to get stood up by heels. Something else to get stood up by one of the hottest baby faces in the company. Oh, poor guy. Funny though. Right. 3 minutes early. WTF. WTF. Well, we might as well spend a moment just getting people's thoughts and scores. We didn't do halftime scores, so... Boom. Red Breed said the show was bad. Jake said, I don't think tonight's show was good. Seems like people were a bit down on tonight's show, actually. I mean, look, I think tonight's show... I do think there's some strange little things they've done on it. But what I will say is, we've got a good idea where we're going with the mid-card belt. Winner of that match will get Gunther. So I like clarity there. I would say 95% of the promo at the start I thought was fantastic. And then just the ending with Cody just sort of made me go, Wouldn't have done that. But you got to say that was a compelling start. Got to say, I mean, like Roman's part of it in particular was brilliant. It was brilliant. So I mean, we did get that. So definitely into that. Trying to think what like the matches that we got tonight. Rhea and Liv was, you know, so. It's all right. The other, yeah, none of the matches really stood out, to be honest. Match wise, I think definitely felt a little bit under par. I am very surprised they had Sami lose. I can only put that down to them wanting to try and bring down his popularity. But then if that is true, why would you have him go in the crowds and have him like celebrating with people around him and like have Roman look gutted and make it look, I mean, Sami lost, but they made it look like he had just won. Which is very contradictory, isn't it? It's very contradictory. So you give Sami the L, but then have him go in the crowds and the crowd cheering and everything like he's basically make it look like he's won. I never needed you. It is strange. Mitchell said, be aware AEW marks are out and about. Well, we'll see. We'll see what the scores come in as. We've had 159 votes. Keep your votes coming in. If you are, just give your honest thoughts. Give your honest thoughts. I am fully aware that there will be people that will vote for this to be 575 or below, regardless of if it was the greatest show ever or not. But equally, I'm aware that there will be people that will vote 10 out of 10, whether this was the worst show ever or not. So hopefully it balances itself out anyway. It's what will the majority vote for, you know? And when we get to a certain level, once we get to like 220, 250, that's when you can get a pretty good read. That's when we've got enough of a sample size to get a pretty good read as to what people thought. So just give your honest thoughts in the poll, and we'll have a look at it in a second and see what people thought. Lance said, I like WWE, but that show sucked. And Ma said it was boring. GS Dub said 7.5. Jim said Sami won the moral victory. Maggie said, I'm ecstatic because Roman was on, and I'm always delighted to see him. So 10 out of 10 for my beautiful tribal chief. I miss Roman when he's not on. I thought March 12th show was a 20-man battle royal, #1 contender for IC championship. There could be a 20-man battle royal. I didn't hear that it was for a IC thing, but it could be. And they could, in all fairness, they could book it so that it's going to be. It's a house show. Do you know what I mean? It's a house show, so they could definitely do it whereby, right? You know, Drew. If say Drew wins the Fatal 5-Way at MSG, they could make it so that Drew has agreed is going to defend his spot at WrestleMania in a battle royal tonight, just for you here at Madison Square Garden. Drew wants to show that he deserves that spot, so he wants to put it on the line, and you know, house show stuff. And then, oh my God, Drew wins again. So I honestly don't know, but next week, Fatal 5-Way, gonna be good. Takeaway: Cody Roman need to be defined heels and baby faces. Bobby Bray feels a bit thrown together. Single match at Mania would be best for Gunther right now. I think that's interesting. What you say about Cody Roman defining themselves as heels and baby faces. That's interesting. I feel like they have done that. I don't look at Cody as a heel. And I don't look at Roman as a face. It's interesting. That's interesting. Do you think that there's a bit of a blurred line there? Let me know. Let me know. Right, let's see what other people are saying. Do you think Bray stuff is getting cartoony? I feel like a lot of Bray fans are losing interest with riddles and magic stuff and no end game. Can't really speak for hardcore Bray fans, to be honest. I can only speak for myself. I am very grateful that we don't have supernatural stuff. And I know people will point to the lights going out tonight, but this was always my argument with Undertaker. Like, you can look at Undertaker stuff and you can justify it as mind games, right? So, for example, this tonight, lights go out, Uncle Howdy goes under the ring, lights come back on, Uncle Howdy's gone, right? So to me, he's under the ring or he's run into the crowds, right? He's basically used this, lights have gone out, I can't see what's going on, lights come back on, damn it, he's got away, right? To other people, they'll look at it and go, wow, he just went, poof, just disappeared, right? So some people will look at it that way. Other people can look at it a different way. And I'm very grateful that this is where we are with Bray again. And we've gone back to, let's say, a grey area. Let's say a grey area, right? Because I would say that with The Fiend, we definitely left the grey area, right? I think we left the grey area. And I think we went into, this is a supernatural character, right? And that's not to everyone's taste. It's not to my taste. So I'm very grateful that he's come back. And as of now, we've stayed into this kind of grey area. So I, first and foremost, am most grateful for that. Then I would say, is it a bit too cartoony? A bit, to be honest, a bit. I think the Howdy character, I don't know that the Howdy... I think the look is a bit better than when we first saw him. I think when we first saw him and he had the full mask, I think that was kind of OTT, wasn't it? It was a bit over the top. Didn't know where it was going. I think they've kind of come up with a newer version of the mask. They've kind of cut it a bit and they've made it look a little bit more, I don't want to say realistic, but just a bit more palatable. But you can accept it a bit more. It's maybe less cartoony now, because you can see a bit more of, I think it's Bo, so a bit more of Bo's face in there, actual face. So, but I think it's still very cartoony. I don't know that Howdy character is as. I don't think it's as cool as the Fiend. I feel like the Fiend mask, the dreads, the size of Bray's size. I never needed you. His mass and everything. I think that played a big part in the success of the Fiend. This was Bray's darkness that had manifested itself as this character, and we can all relate to that. So, we've all got darkness, right? I've shown mine on a regular basis. But, so we've all got, an inner darkness. And I suppose, we can all imagine that side of ourselves, if it had a different appearance, what would its appearance be? And it's kind of fun to think about, what would your Fiend look like? And I think that, that's just cool because you can relate to it. I can relate to that. I can sit here and think about, how would I make my Fiend look? How would my Fiend look? And that's Bray's that we saw. And it was cool. And I don't think Howdy's got that, because what is Howdy? What is his relationship? This isn't Bray, and it's not. We don't really know how it ties together. So the thing with Howdy is, not only is it it's not relatable. I don't quite know the relationship. I don't know where Howdy has come from. We haven't had any answers on that front. I don't think the appearance is as good as the Fiend's. I think the Fiend's appearance was better. I think probably, WWE, I dare say, would agree. The only reason I say that is because when we got the Fiend, we didn't really change the mask, right? It might have been the odd little whatever, but it was like by and large, the theme we saw at the start is the theme we see at the end. And I know some people will be like, no, the black thing here got a bit bigger. It was basically the same, right? In regards to Howdy, though, I mean, we've seen some pretty drastically different masks already, and it really feels, and I could be wrong, but it does feel like we've made some running changes as we've tried to make the mask a bit more palatable, credible, just look a bit cooler. It could be one of those situations where when you're in a boardroom or you're backstage or you're in a meeting and you get shown the actual mask, you look at it and you go, do you know what? That's really cool. That actually looks really spooky. It looks really good. But then when it's actually on and it's out there under the lights in this segment, when you bring all the elements together, maybe it just doesn't quite have the same impact in that environment. And so it's one of those, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? It's just one of those. I don't think it's harsh or unfair or rude or anything to say that this maybe doesn't have the same impact as The Fiend. I don't think I'm saying anything too controversial there. So I can't speak for if people are losing patience with it. I actually think we're probably in one of the better places with this story than where we have been, because I think waiting for Bray to embrace his darker sides, I think waiting for him to get to that point, that was frustrating. That was frustrating because we were waiting and waiting and waiting, and we didn't know what was happening with Howdy, and we didn't know if Howdy was going to be revealed. Now it feels like he's not. You know, we spent a lot of time theorizing over who is Howdy. Doesn't even look like that's an issue. Doesn't even look like that's not a story we're telling, is it? There's no conversations about who is that person, who is with Bray. It's Howdy. He comes out and it's Howdy, and that's it. So all that time we spent going, who do you think it is? All those teases of, is it Bray's split personality? And then obviously it turns out that it was a separate entity and all of this. Like all of that just feels like it was a story that was a little bit of a waste of time, to be honest. So that one, I think, didn't quite land, I think, the way they wanted. And I think there's still people now that are still trying to figure out who Howdy is, when that just doesn't feel like it's where the story is at the moment. So I feel like the story as well has gone in a few directions and teased a few things. And yeah, I think I could understand people getting a bit frustrated with trying to work something out and then the story moves on and now that's not even important anymore. You know, as I said, there's people out there trying to figure out who Howdy is, and that they might soon realize it doesn't matter. It's not a thing. Howdy is Howdy. It's like trying to figure out who Kane is. Kane is Kane. And you could say that for a few different aspects. But the reason why I say I think we're in the best part of this story that we have been so far is because we've got through that stage. Bray has now embraced his former selves, Funhouse and all of that. And now we can start to do Funhouse episodes if and when we want to. We can do cult leader stuff as and when we want to. He said that he wouldn't feel right wearing a Hawaiian shirt and doing all of that without Brody. I think that's true. I think he was telling the truth at that point. I think that is Bray being very honest. I don't think that you would bring that up if you didn't mean it. I think he meant it. I think that's why I don't think we will quite go to cult leader Bray, but we will still get glimpses, the run, the rocking chair. There could be a family that comes in. Obviously, there's a lot of talk still about Wyatt 6 and what that means. And are the 6 within him, or is it like other people that are coming? There's a lot of excitement around Dutch and Vincent. None of this stuff has had payoff. Are people losing patience with some of that? Maybe. But I think the fact that you might not have got answers on those things, but here now you've got Bray doing Funhouse again. I feel like that's at least us getting something, you know? I feel like we are getting things. Even if it's not some of the answers we're hoping for, we are still getting stuff. And, getting a Funhouse and getting a new feud. I mean, people wanted to see him have matches. Took a little while for him to have a feud with LA Knight. Then he had that match, and it wasn't long, was it? And it's a few weeks, and then bang, calls out whoever wins out of Bobby and Brock. So again, we've gone into this feud very quick, and Howdy is Howdy. I think a disappointing thing is that we spent so long trying to get Bray to embrace his former self. I don't think we've really figured out who Howdy is, and that is something that we can explore, and we need to explore. And we just don't have time right now, because right now we're having to build to WrestleMania. I do wonder if we were to do it again, would it make more sense for Bray to come back, not forgetting who his former selves were, right? We didn't need to tell that story. Should he have come back knowing that he can be Funhouse Bray and use all of those, and use that from the start, and use that time instead to explore who Uncle Howdy is? And we could have done that instead of Bray struggling with who he is. I think, Bray could have come back knowing who he is. I'm sure he had plenty of time to reflect whilst he was outside of the company. Don't know that we needed to see him struggling, mentally when he came back. I think he could have worked it out whilst he was away. And then that would have meant the time that we spent on that could have been spent on really establishing who Howdy is, how he fits into the story, what his relationship is with Bray, and really dug into that a bit more. That might have fleshed him out a little bit more. And it also might have allowed us to have had some fun houses earlier, which I think would have satisfied some people that maybe got a bit dissatisfied. But it's difficult, isn't it? Because, you can sit here and say all this stuff, but everything's easier in retrospect. Do you know what I mean? Everything's easier in retrospect. It's easy to sit here and go, "Wow, listen, this is what Jake needed to do against Tommy in that fight," right? Because we've seen the fight and we now know how it went, and we know what worked and we know what didn't. So it's super easy to sit and just point at the things that didn't work. It's a lot harder to actually have that blank page in front of you and to write a story, because you're not going to know what's going to land and what's not going to land and what's going to work and what's not going to work when you start off on that journey. So it's very unfair. I'll be the first to admit it's very, very unfair to look back and say, should have done this, should have done that, because that's easy to do. That's easy. The harder thing is to come up with the story and tell the story in the first place. So credit to Bray for doing that. Credit to Bray for being brave enough to come back and not just go straight into the funhouse. He came back and told a different story. That's not easy, is it? Not when the Fiend was as over as what he was and the puppets were as over as what they were and everything. For him to come back and be brave enough to tell a different story, I think that should be applauded. Debatable as to whether they've knocked it out the park or not, but there's definitely things there that should be applauded. So yeah, I think we're in a better place now. I just think tonight just seems a bit off, just because I don't know much about Howdy. I don't know how he relates to stuff, but he feels important and he feels like he guides Bray. And seeing him sneak attack Bobby and still end up getting beaten up, and then having to do a lights out trick to try and get away, kind of makes him look a bit weak, to be honest. Because you would think that he's, I don't know, perhaps I've just got him wrong, but in my mind he's sort of, I've had people sending me theories that he's the higher power. He's the person that Bray has always answered to, and people are trying to figure out how he fits into the story. And obviously, people are going to come to the conclusion that he's this really important person. And so seeing this potentially important person go, I know what to do. I know what to do. Watch this. Sneak attacks Bobby, but then gets beaten up and has to scurry off. It's just not a good look, is it? It's just not a good look. So I don't know that they got today's segment right, but doesn't mean that the match and the feud ain't going to be interesting. I'm definitely down for seeing it. Mitchell, shout out to you. This is also wrestling. We have to admit there's a script, but there's no script in MMA and boxing. The issue is there's no direction for the story. I love Bray, but what's the overall story? That's my issue. Well, I mean, if I was to answer that honestly, I would say the story has been that he came back and he didn't want to be the monster that he was. He said that it took too much of him, and so he didn't want to go there. He was then confronted by Uncle Howdy, who called him a liar because I think what he was saying is that deep down inside, he did want to be that monster and he did want to be those personas again, but he was trying to resist it. He was trying to be a better person, but just embrace it, put that mask back on. And this time you don't have to take it off. And I think that was the story. We was watching Bray fighting to try and be a different version of himself and ultimately losing that battle. Now, what I would say is I believe the moment it changes is when Howdy gets into the ring and hits Bray with a Sister Abigail. And I think it was like the week after that things changed. I would argue that is a little bit of a weak reason for Bray to all of a sudden see the light, right? A Sister Abigail by Howdy in the ring, and boom, all of a sudden, he sees the light now. I understand, like, there was, it was building, and that was the cherry on top, but I think we could have found maybe a better reason as to why Bray finally embraced things, finally, changed, if you will. I then think that we would start in. So that's the first part of the story done. Now we've moved on to phase 2, and phase 2 is where we are embracing this stuff, and potentially we're now going to start to do some things. Maybe we're going to grow, and it's hard to know where the story is going. Of course, I mean, you can say that for any story. It's hard to know where the Bloodline story is going. Like, we don't know if Jay's going to be in the Bloodline or out the Bloodline. So we don't quite know where that's going. In regards to the Bray story, we need to explore Howdy. We need to know that relationship. We know there's something going on with Alexa. And so we think she's coming in. We got a very interesting Funhouse episode last week, kind of heavily teased. You could hear a woman's voice. We had the Alexa box, the Jack in the Box that was on the table that had been moved to the floor. Bray asked the question, who opened the door? So very much implying that someone had opened that door, and there was clues that Alexa was involved. So we did a whole video on that saying, like, is Alexa going to be a new fiend? Is she being brought in and she's going to be consumed by that darkness again? So I kind of feel like there are some moving parts. Obviously, people are looking at Dutch and Vincent thinking that they could come in. We could find ourselves very soon in the situation where we've got Bray, Vincent, Dutch, Alexa, Howdy. What would that be? Bray, Howdy, Vincent, Dutch, and Alexa. That would be 5. That would be 5. Now, you could bring in a 6th person, or you could have Bray as normal Bray and, like, Fiend. Like, you could have Bray as himself, and then you could have the Fiend be that 6th person, be that extra entity. It's a different persona. It's a different presentation. So you could make that argument that could be the 6. Equally, you could easily count up 6 personas within Bray and say that's the 6. Equally, we might not be going in that direction, but it does feel like there is an acceptance now that Bray has accepted his previous selves, his other personas, and we now move into this second phase. I think he only accepted that as we built towards Royal Rumble. So it was kind of in the build to Rumble. It was during his feud with LA Knight that these pieces fell into place. We then did see seemingly a different persona. I mean, he put another mask on at the end of the Rumble. He puts on a new mask. I don't know what that was meant to be. Obviously, we're still waiting for Uncle Harper as well. So Uncle Harper could always be that sixth person. So we don't know what's happening with Uncle Harper. But yeah, I can understand the frustration. I can understand. I've heard this argument before of like, this story. What is it? Where are we going? But I think that was chapter 1, Bray rediscovering himself. We're now into chapter 2. I don't know where this story goes. I can give a few theories as to what Wyatt 6 is. I can give some theories as to, what Bray is going to look to do. I mean, there's definitely people Bray can go after that have wronged him in the past. And, he could focus on that. But he hasn't made noises of doing that. Seth and Randy. I mean, if Randy was around, it would be very interesting, wouldn't it? If Randy was back, it would be very interesting if Bray had made any noises about going after Randy. But Randy's been injured all this time. Horrible timing. If you think about it, horrific time. I think Randy gets injured, is it late May, June? And Bray comes back a few months later at Extreme Rules. I mean, just awful, awful timing. But I think they probably would have kept them apart in the early stages anyway. I don't think much would have been different. That'd be interesting, though, wouldn't it? That'd be interesting to know if it would have been different. But I think they would have kept them apart. And I think it'd be interesting if he would have his sights set on Randy. Would this have been Bray Randy for this WrestleMania if Randy was around? Don't know. But yeah, the big picture stuff, I'm not too worried about because I feel like there is something to work towards. We're not going to know that until we actually get a bit further into this story. But I feel like I know where we've been, and I know potentially where we could go. But I'm not going to know if that's where we are going until we get a bit further into it. James said, like Bray said, we've barely scratched the surface of the story. Roman has definitely been champ for so long they draw over him, says Rare Breeds. Jacob said, instead of Howdy attack him, I'd rather have Howdy speak to Bobby. We haven't really had Howdy talk since he came out. That'd be really interesting. That'd be really interesting because not only are you building the feuds, but Howdy as well, you would be getting just a bit more insight into him, wouldn't you? Whatever he says would be analyzed and decoded and all of that kind of stuff. And I agree with you. I completely agree with you. I think that would have been very, very interesting to have had him spoke. You could have had him jump into the ring and just say a few words and just give Bobby something to think about. I agree. I think that would have been better as well. But what would your thoughts be on Jimmy and Jay versus Roman in a tornado tag match? What, a handicap match? Usos against Roman? No, because it's not. I mean, it's not. If the Usos win, they've just beaten Roman, but it took 2 of them to do it. So I wouldn't see that as some kind of big achievement. I mean, I feel like the Usos would be favorites going into that. I mean, they're one of the greatest tag teams of all time. I mean, I know Roman is an incredible, one of the greatest superstars of all time, but I'd have to think that the Usos would be favorites going into that match. So if they were to beat him, I don't know that it would, if they were celebrating on their knees and congratulating each other, I would be watching it thinking it's hard to be emotional about this because it took 2 of them to beat Roman. So I don't think that it would. I don't think I would see it as a massive achievement for 2 men to beat 1. And then if Roman beats the Usos, I mean that would be an achievement for Roman. For Roman to beat the Usos, that would be a big achievement. In all fairness, but Awful for the Usos. One of the greatest tag teams we've ever seen losing to one man is just not a good look, is it, at all? It's not great for them. It's not great for the tag division. I don't see the upsides other than it would be big for Roman, but there's so many ways that you can build Roman's legacy. Like, you don't need to do that. So I wouldn't do that personally. I have no problem with them doing a tag match. You know, you could do Solo and Roman versus the Usos. Do that match. Now, that would be interesting. Because if the Usos win that now, that's a hell of an achievement. Because not only is it Roman, but they've done a really good job of building up Solo. And if Roman and Solo can beat the Usos are one of the greatest tag teams of all time. They've been together, 13 years in WWE? One of the most decorated teams we've ever seen. Longest reigning SmackDown tag team champs ever. So it's one thing to be a good singles wrestler, but to be able to be a great tag team is something completely, it's different, isn't it? Different skills, shutting down the ring, being able to make that hot tag, being there, working together, like that chemistry. Tag wrestling is different. And Usos are amongst the best to do it. So I would be more interested in them doing it as a tag match than a handicap match. Instead of we read that one. Do you think we will see The Fiend again? I do, yeah, I do. I do, because when he said that we won't, apparently that interview was in character. And I think that was before he had embraced his former self as well. So shortly after that, he then embraced his former self. And so now I think that we can get The Fiend. The only thing I would say is I think we only need The Fiend for very, very special occasions. We should not see him on a regular basis. I don't even think we should see him at WrestleMania, to be honest. I think you can tease him at WrestleMania. I think you can definitely tease him. And you might even be able to have, like, Bray just put the mask on momentarily and just kind of, like, maybe after the mask. Maybe, maybe that's a little bit of what Rumble was meant to be. Perhaps that was meant to be him putting on, like, a Fiend-type mask as a new way of showing off his darkness now. Like, I don't know, but I don't think we should have, like, a Fiend match. I don't think this feud calls for it. It's not, he just called out Bobby. It's not been very heated, has it? It's got chance to get there, but we don't have very long to work. We've got, 4 weeks? One of them weeks is going to be the go home. So I don't know that this feud calls for it. But if he was engaged in, like, a big feud and there was loads at stake and, like, the puppets had been massacred and Howdy had been destroyed and Alexa had been kidnapped and Bray just couldn't find a way of getting an advantage in the feuds, maybe then the last thing he can do is say, I'm going to have to get him or something like that, and people will freak. This is what I'm saying, like, save it for that type of moment rather than just, let's get The Fiend for WrestleMania, But we know that WWE is a business and marketing is really important. So as much as logic can say, like, do that, that's a good way to go. Marketing, money says, put Fiend on the biggest show of the year. So I wouldn't rule out seeing him. But I wouldn't do it because I just don't think this feud calls for it. But I would bring him back in the future, yes. Muse said, I'm not sure if I missed it. Have you got any theories as to why Liv Morgan keeps getting tapped out? I think that they don't have anything for her right now. And I think that they are... Well, I hope that they are going to use it as a way of her snapping. That's what I'm hoping. Because it is very interesting that they do keep doing that to her. And because they did it, they had a tap out to Asuka a couple of times. And they had she didn't tap out. She didn't pass out in the chamber. She passed out in the chamber. She didn't tap out in the chamber. But we have seen it happen a few times where she's being put in those situations. And I just think that, to be honest, she's not involved in any major stories right now. So, and she's a credible name. So, if you are able to get a win over Liv, that gives you a bit of momentum. It does mean, you saw how that girl was in floods of tears. There are hardcore Liv fans out there that are gutted when she's losing. And I think what you're doing is, maybe, potentially, I think, building up some sympathy for her. So you're building up the sympathy. You are potentially, I'm thinking, going to snap at some point, At some point, she's going to say enough is enough. And, do we get a darker side of Liv? We did start seeing a Liv Morgan that kind of embraced a more extreme side when she lost the titles, but she seems to have moved away from that, which I think is a shame, because I think that there's not really anyone on the roster that is doing that. Do you know what I mean? Just getting chairs, getting tables, just getting things because they can. People love the Dudley Boys. Dudley Boys, Devon, get the tables. You know what I mean? They didn't always need to do that, but that was just part of their gimmick. And I think there's no one doing that in WWE. Full stop. Let alone in the women's division. So I actually thought that was a good thing that they had for her, where she would get weapons and everything. And they just seemingly stopped doing it, didn't they? Seemingly didn't go that way anymore. So yeah, I don't know. I can't say exactly where it's going to go, but that would be my theory. My theory would be that they don't have anything massive for her. Her being taking L's is helping other people in the short term, and in the long term, she's gonna say enough is enough, and something's gonna change. Something's gonna snap. Something does she have a darker persona like we've just seen from Asuka, and potentially we're seeing from Alexa? Could there be a women's faction that gets formed? Could she be part of that? Could it be a strength in numbers type thing? Maybe it's not a darker persona. Perhaps it forces her to join forces with some other women. Could it be that she goes away and, hones her skills, comes back, starts having some submission finishes of her own, rather than the Oblivion and stuff like that? Maybe we start seeing some new moves coming into the arsenal, and we could see her doing stuff. Maybe, she could turn heel and start learning from Shayna and Ronda. How about that? That would be pretty sick. Liv Morgan accepting that she's not as good as some of the other women at the top of the cards, but doing something about it. And what she does is she actually kind of becomes the Jamie Hayter to, Ronda's Britt Baker. Kind of, you go under the wing of someone that's got that a little bit more experience, someone that's been at the top, someone that's main evented shows, not just in WWE, but obviously UFC, pioneer of women's sports, one of the baddest women on the planet. She can absolutely teach Liv things. So can Shayna Baszler. She can teach Liv things as well. And so she could be we could maybe go down those roads. So there's, I wouldn't worry too much about it at the moment. They, her fan base, her merch sales, all of that stuff is really strong for Liv. And look, how often do you see a wrestler lose and then you cut to the crowd and see someone crying? Do you know what I mean? Crying. So that girl crying, I would imagine Liv will probably seek her out and, tell her she's all right, and have a picture and give her a shirt or something. They should definitely do that. But, yeah, I think long term, there's plenty of roads we can go down. All is right in the world. Tony has got 6 announcements next week. Liv should be Nikki's friend. Oh, someone should be Nikki's friend. Someone should be Nikki's friend. Big Time Back said, fun fact, the reason why Liv is heavily featured is because Fox heavily advocates. I feel Asuka should lose at WrestleMania, says Alfie. Build in more of a darker, sinister character. Build a team of people who have been done wrong. Red Reeds said, Liv is amazing. I love her out of the ring. Right, well, listen, I was meant to do a review and everything. That's gone well. You know what we're like when we get stuck into some of these conversations and we put the world to rights. But yeah, listen, this is what it's about, innit? Just watching. I tell you what, the worst shows are the ones where you don't have anything to talk about. I think the fact we've stuck around 40 minutes after shows that WWE might not be getting everything right at the moment, but they are certainly giving us things to talk about. And that for me is all I can ask for. It's all I can ask for. So yeah, some good stuff. Some, I don't know if there was anything particularly bad tonight. I don't know if there was anything that was like an epic disaster, a big L. I don't know. Just things, I would say there was some really good stuff and some stuff that I think we would have tweaked and changed. I think that's a really fair way of saying it. We are going to go, but let's have a look at the poll, see where we ended with that. Scores, 8 out of 10, 34%. 7 to 775, 30%. 6 to 675, 20%. 575 or below, 14%. So what I would say is that it was quite split. We know that 8 to 10 will always attract the hardcore fans. So we always expect that to do a certain degree of, a number. But I think the fact that 7 to 775 got 30 and then 6 to 675 got 20, and even 575 or below getting 14. 14 is quite a chunk, That means that, 34%. So that's 1 in 3 people felt that tonight was below a 7. The 1 in 3 people thought that tonight was below 7. Then another third pretty much thought that it was in the 7s. And then another third thought that it was 8 to 10. So kind of split, more weighted, certainly towards the top end of the register rather than the lower ends. It's not like we're seeing 60% of people saying this was 575 or below. But yeah, quite split. If you think about like 33% reckon it's below 7, 33% reckon that it's in the 7s, and then 33% reckon it's 8 or above. So there we go. Right. Awesome. Appreciate the support. Don't forget, we are back tomorrow early for Misfits boxing, which I'm genuinely looking forward to. I've read into it all and I've got my head around it all, and I don't know what Jay Swingler does, right? I haven't gone that far. I don't know Jay Swingler, but I know that he lives in Telford. I know that he's a massively successful YouTuber. And the build and the interview and everything, he seems to be respectful about boxing, doing it the right way, some really good training footage. I really like him. I really like him. And I think the fact that he's so local to me is really cool. So, yeah, he could have a horrific channel, right? Could be awful. Could be pranking doctors and nurses, right? And all this kind of awful stuff. The kind of stuff that gives YouTube a bad name. But from what I've seen of him so far, I really like him. So I'm rooting for him in the main event. And then we've got tag team boxing. God only knows how that's going to go. And then we've got some interesting names that we've seen before. People like Dean the Great, who we've seen before, and King Kenny, who we've seen before. We've got them back on the show. They're kind of seen as being more at the top end of the influencer boxing worlds. Shame there's no Salt Pappy. He's regarded as being right up there. But Dean the Great and King Kenny are both up there as well. And then you've got the first women's championship fight as well, which should be absolutely awful. It should be horrific. I'm not going to lie to you. It should be awful. But there is a belt at stake. We are going to crown like the first women's champ. And so that's kind of interesting. So history is being made in Telford. Because I'll tell you what, this Misfits thing, the numbers it gets is crazy. I don't see it going anywhere anytime soon. I can see this being around in 3, 4, 5 years' time. Easy. Because the numbers are just so... It's such a clever idea because you've not only got KSI as the face of it, but everyone that fights has got a big following. So it just means that whoever's fighting, they are bringing their own viewers to the show. So how does it fail? I mean, the only way I can see it failing is if, and I hope it doesn't happen, something horrific happens. You know, we get a major life-changing injury or someone is tragically killed and the whole thing is put on ice, you know? It's a big wake-up call type situation. And there's a lot of pressure and you know, maybe something happens there. But other than that, like, this thing doesn't look like it's going away. So, you know, if this is going to be around for the foreseeable future, then tomorrow is going to be quite interesting as we crown the first women's Misfits champ ever. And tag team boxing arrives. Tag team boxing arrives. Wild. And then after that, we're going to do UFC. So we've got John Jones, we've got Garm, we've got all of that to look forward to. And then, as we said, AEW Revolution. They need a big show, man. They need a big show. It's not... I don't think I'm alone in saying this. I think this is kind of where the conversation is. So we'll have to see what they can do on Sunday. And then isn't Monday like John Cena and all of that? I mean, you can tell it's WrestleMania season. You can tell there's things going on at the moment. So Joe says tag team boxing. I know, man. I know. I'll be perfectly honest. I don't know how I feel about it. My first reaction, I did say this earlier in the stream. My first reaction was someone's going to get hurt. Because if you're boxing and you're getting, your cardio's going down, your arms are getting heavier, and they tag out and you don't get chance to tag out, or perhaps you feel like, no, I'm all right, I can go a bit longer. And then you start going, then you start getting smashed. I mean, what's left of whatever cardio you had, you know, as you're facing now a fresh opponent, someone standing in front of you that's fresh, you could deteriorate quite quick. And for me, my concern is that, you know, we're now going to be tagging in someone fresh and there's someone that's been worn down. The ref has got to be on this so quickly because we really could have some big health problems. We could have some, like, something could go drastically wrong here if this isn't dealt with properly. But until we see it, I don't know. I don't know. I really don't know. I would imagine that the same reaction was probably when tag wrestling got introduced, because wrestling was always two people just going up against each other to figure out who the best is. I can only imagine the same argument came in when tag wrestling was introduced, and then because it was around and, you know, there was exciting matches and whatever and exciting teams, like, it became accepted. So I don't know. I don't know if this isn't just a bit... I don't know if this is just like a really bad idea, or if it could work. I don't know. Genuinely don't know. I feel like I should know, and I feel like the answer is probably it's not going to work. But until I see it, I actually don't know. And I'm not against them trying it. I'm really not against them giving it a go, because it could work. Feel really bad saying it, though. Do you know what I mean? Saying it out loud, you go, don't say that. But then, like, people make some... I don't know. I genuinely don't know. We watch it with wrestling, and I know that wrestling is scripted, but could it... We see it in tennis. It's not tag, but it's doubles. I don't know. I don't know. We'll have to see. Could be awful. Could work. We'll find out. Right. Awesome. Thanks for watching. I am super late doing videos and everything. I don't know what I'm going to do, but I'll figure that out. Appreciate the support, though, and I'll see you next time. Bye for now.